I didn't tell you, this is unrelated. I did not tell you that I went and saw Jurassic Park with a live orchestra the other day, and it was very cool.
That's awesome. Great.
It was so good. And when Malcolm is on stage with like his shirt, pulled back of it, everybody in the audience was like, yeah!
Yeah!
Started cheering. It was so fun. We had such a good time.
Well, unrelated, but thank you for sharing. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was really good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Book Retorts. We're back.
We're back.
Yay! That's Sam on the horns. I'm Danielle.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle, for the introduction. We're out of practice, clearly.
We're back from our summer break, which unfortunately fell right between 2 episodes of parts of a show.
Hey, leave them wanting more, Danielle. Cliffhangers are all the rage. Isn't that like what movies do now?
Everybody.
They just end on like a part 1 and make you wait 2 years for the second part, so we're just following the trend.
Yeah, we're very trendy.
Super trendy, that's us. People see us walking down the street and think, there's a trendy pair of people.
Yes. If you haven't figured it out, this is a podcast where one of us explains a weird piece of media to the other who has no experience with it, but it's a part 2, so Sam does have experience with it.
I am like a child relearning how to ride a bike after an accident. I have some experience, and it's all coming back.
Yes. All of that. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say your weird thing.
I had to pivot because I forgot that I already had experience with this one.
And this is, just in case you didn't know, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
I forgot the name.
By the... I almost did too, actually. I had to think about it. By Suzanne Collins, who is the author of The Hunger Games.
Yes, The Hunger Games. Get hungry. I don't know why I'm like channeling a shock jock today.
And Sam, in our long-held tradition, I would like you to think back 4 to 6 weeks ago and tell
my
me,
brain, it hurts.
What was the plot of the first part of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes?
I've actually, like, today I'm like, I gotta remember how to do that, and I spent like 30 seconds trying to remember the plot, and what I realized is I remember exactly one name from the entire episode.
Yes.
Which is obviously Coriolanus. How could I forget that name?
Perfect. That's really all you need to know. I think
Everyone
full
else's
stories
name
from his perspective.
I don't even remember the tribute that he is coaching. I remember nothing about that. Their names are out of my brain as if I never met them, which I guess I haven't technically. I've only met them vicariously through you.
Yes. Are you going to give a summary?
Oh,
What's
yes, that's what we're here to do.
Today on Book Retorts.
All right, so we open in the past. Before the Hunger Games books take place.
In the future, but in the past.
Yeah, the future past, not the past, the future. Past the future, I'm confused myself. It's not Star Wars past, future, but future of us past. Mm-hmm, yes? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Got it, good.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Coriolanus Snow is an up-and-coming, is he 17, 18, something like that?
Yeah, he's a senior, so thereabouts.
Yeah. He is part of a once prestigious family that's fallen on hard times. And at his private high school, he is given the opportunity to mentor a tribute to the Hunger Games. We'll get to that in a minute, what those are and why they're silly. For the first time in the history of the 10 years of the Hunger Games have been running. Is that right?
Yes, 10 years, and he lives in the capital. Both important pieces.
Oh, yeah, I assumed he lived in the capital.
Yeah, but, our listeners, what if they didn't listen to the first part, Sam?
Then what are they doing in part 2?
I don't know.
I mean, bold, I appreciate your moxie. Anyway, there's a big, scholarship for college attached to this mentorship program.
There's not yet, really. There's like a monetary award.
Okay, but he needs that money desperately to continue his education, right?
Yes, correct. He has no money. His family is very poor, pretending to be rich, but
exactly.
very poor.
They're putting on airs, trying to ham it up, and his cousin is the fashion designer that did up his shirt, and she's importantly, she's like one of those things like, I have to explain where every character from the original series comes in play, so.
Oh yeah, this back half of this is heavy with that. I skipped some of it, but we'll go over a little bit of it.
Great. I don't remember the first Hunger Games books that well, so this is going to be a real thing for me, sorry.
You've been doing great.
Anyway, so there's also a new money guy there who's from District 2.
Sejanus Plinth.
Sejanus Plinth. Do not remember his name. Thank you, Danielle.
Oh, he's very important in the second half, so you'll remember it.
I don't think so. Anyway, and he's like somewhat of an outcast because he's new money, but Coriolanus like is nice to him to or like it doesn't make fun of him to try to like pretend to be above him and better than him, etc., etc. Even though he's like secretly a bit jealous because he's got actual money and his family doesn't. Something like that.
Good job so far. I'm impressed you remembered Sejanus, I'll be honest.
I remember he existed, and I remember he's important because we'll get to it during the Hunger Games. His tribute does not end well. Well, none of the tributes really end well in the Hunger Games, let's be honest.
Yeah, 23 out of 24 don't make it.
Usually. Also, these Hunger Games I'm going to get all over the place because the order of things is unclear. But the point is, Hunger Games are very badly run. They're barely watched. And they're trying to change that this year by making the tributes have mentors to make the Hunger Games more exciting for some reason. They make people more invested to humanize the contestants more, the tributes more, which I think is a bad idea for many reasons. But here we are.
How they've lasted 10 years is really a mystery.
We'll get to Dr. What's-Her-Face who likes mutants later, but she's been mishandling the Hunger Games terribly.
You tell her.
That's right, I will.
I mean, she'll probably kill you, but you tell her.
I bet you would. I'm just going to skip to the tributes because the tribute down from District 12?
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Yeah,
ding, ding, ding.
The poorest district is the one assigned to Coriolanus. She is a performer at heart, and she enters the Hunger Games putting the snake down a romantic rival of hers, and then punching her or getting slapped by the mayor of her city. So and then belting out a song.
The father, to be clear, the mayor is the father of.
No, I like my better was just out of context.
It's kind of important later. And her name, you don't remember her name really at all?
No, I remember nobody's name but Coriolanus. That's all I got.
Her name is Lucy Gray Baird.
Sure, I'll believe you. Lucy here does a big song and dance performance, and Coriolanus has the first inkling of an idea that, hey, maybe the Hunger Games won't just be a boring bloodbath where children kill each other and it's depressing to watch. Maybe we can make it a spectacle.
Yeah, but also, it is.
I mean, it's going to be both. Both can be true.
It is later. Both.
Yeah. We'll get Stanley Tucci in there. It'd be great.
Yeah. If only. He makes everything great.
He does. All right, so she comes to the Capitol. Coriolanus decides to go down to meet her at the train station, docks, whatever. I don't remember how they get there. And he gets in the truck with them, which is a bad idea because they'll get dumped into a zoo cage. And he's like, oh yeah, I totally meant to be here. And it caused like a whole stir. And he and his trooper are sort of like hamming it up and trying to like, getting attention and really playing for the cameras, trying to make a spectacle of this whole thing. And at one point later, they're at the cages again, and he's coming there to feed his tribute because they don't get fed because emaciated, hungry fighters make the best combat warriors for some reason.
Best idea ever.
It's so dumb. Anyway, one of the tributes is teased by one of their mentors, and they kill them by stabbing them in the neck with a knife they steal from them, and then they get killed, of course, because, we gotta lose tributes before we even start.
And students.
Also, I don't know if it's related or not, but I'm going to talk about it because I loved it. Coriolanus and his lab partners, I don't know what you call them, have to write a paper. He does it. One of the ladies also claims credit for it, but is quickly found out through snake smell that she was lying. That doesn't make sense to you.
Snakes. I'm going to be honest. Snakes are the best part.
If it doesn't make sense to you, go back and listen to part 1. I'm sorry. And she is turned into a snake mutant, although nobody believes Coriolanus when he finds this out.
And she's mostly fine.
Yeah, mostly fine. It's a snake mutant. Totally fine. What could go wrong?
Maybe that'll come into play. Maybe it'll just disappear entirely from the plot. We'll find out.
I would love it if it was number 2. Please give me number 2. All right, I'm going to wrap this up real quick because I want to get back to the...
Yes, please do.
So, Hunger Games start, but before they do, as they're starting, there's an attack on the Colosseum where there's explosions, there's some rebel faction or something that attacks them, and a bunch of the tributes run to escape. Everything's postponed, and the Oh, I forgot to mention that one of the things that the mentors, like the class kids, come up with is, hey, what if we let people like bet on the Hunger Games and also send care packages to some of the tributes or whatever, like sponsor them, which was an idea that no one had before, which is also bonkers. Why no one was betting?
Is crazy.
People were betting on that, I'm sure, in back alleys. They had to be.
And I think it's important to note that they said it kind of as a joke, and Coriolanus took it as like, yeah, we should definitely do that, and he gets all the credit for it. I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so that'll come into play later, because after some of the tributes escape, they round them up, and then they catch one of them, right? From District 2.
I think only one actually escapes, and yes, they eventually catch him.
They capture him from District 2. They basically crucify him in the Colosseum and hang him from the rafters, and it really badly affects Sejanus, who is also from District 2 originally, as I mentioned. So
and knew him.
Yeah, and knew them, went to school with them before he, found money somehow.
Arms, munitions.
Yep. Anyway, was it, what's her face? Coriolanus' tribute who climbed up to kill/free him, or someone else? I forget.
Oh, no, she hasn't killed anybody yet, I think.
Right, so some of the other tributes, climb up to kill/free him. And, there's also some shenanigans with terrible drone delivery, trying to deliver water to the tribute, and they fail miserably because military drones apparently can't deliver water. Well,
who knew?
Bombs, sure. Water, too hard. Anyway, ridiculous. Anyway, so the cliffhanger we left off on was Coriolanus was supposed to accompany Sejanus in to retrieve the body or see the body of his tribute because they were worried about causing a scene if Sejanus went in alone or they sent in the peacekeepers or whatever.
Nope. I mean, that's close, but no. Sejanus has snuck into the
right, and he's sent into
arena.
Yeah.
And we don't know why. He's in there, and Dr. Gaul calls Coriolanus and is like, get your butt over here and get your boy out, because this cannot be on television.
I knew there was something involving Sejanus and going in there.
Yes, and that's where we ended, was him seeing Sejanus. He's been led into the arena, Coriolanus, and he sees Sejanus off in the distance.
Hey, for 6 weeks, I'm considering that pretty good.
No notes. As always, I think there was one time that Sam screwed up. Otherwise, he has been perfect recollection of every summary ever in a really annoying way for 3 years.
Oh, Danielle, does my perfection bother you? Look, I got no names on that one, so, and I can't remember the name of the tribute right now. Was it Gray something? Eleanor?
Lucy.
Whatever. Sure.
Close enough. Eleanor, Lucy, same thing. Same time period.
Was it like Lucy Eleanor Gray or something? I'm thinking of Gray. I don't know why I have that in my head.
No, Gray is, I assume, her middle name.
Sure. All right. You know what? I'll just stop on my head.
All right, Coriolanus has entered the arena. It is dark outside. Dr. Gaul and associates have made it dark so that they can't see what's going on the screen, because obviously you don't want word to spread that Sejanus is, in the arena. That'd be bad news bears. And
for reasons that are unclear.
Well, that he's in there? Why is Sejanus in there?
Why it's such a bad thing if he's in there? I guess because they thought they lose control.
Because it looks like they've lost control of a citizen of
and the explosions earlier really didn't help with that.
Well, they're still killing their children. That didn't stop anything.
That's fucking great.
He nervously approaches, and Sejanus is kneeling over Marcus's body. Marcus is the boy from District 2, his friend. And he does, in fact, make it without incident. They don't see any of the other tributes around, and he tells him his mom is out waiting for him. And Sejanus is like, I want to die on screen in protest. I don't believe in the games. I want to die. I want to get murdered by the tributes or whatever.
Sejanus took a hard left turn right away.
And Coriolanus is like, obviously that's not going to happen, dude. You're going to, even if you died, they just pretend you died of the flu or something. They're going to shuffle you off screen. They're not going to show you dying on screen. Are you stupid?
This is the thing also that they don't delay the feed so they can edit it and censor it. They just broadcast it live. Worst dictatorship ever.
I know. Why would you not have a little bit of a delay? Come on now.
10 or 20 second delay so you can censor things if it's crazy. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And Coriolanus basically is like, just bide your time. You're one of the richest people in the entire capital. You're eventually going to inherit all that money, or and you're getting older. You're going to have a ton of money. You could use that money to change things, to help people out. You don't have to die to change things.
Rich people really change things for the better all the time with their money.
Well, that's what he was telling him, trying to talk him out. So as he's trying to talk him out into leaving, he hears a cough off to his side, and he realizes that they're slowly being surrounded by the tributes.
Good. I mean, honestly, you root for the tributes, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's on the tribute side. That's the whole point. The book is told from the capital perspective, but you're actually on the tribute side.
Yeah, like, these guys suck. Even Coriolanus, as you mentioned, I think, in the previous part about how the author does a good job of making him a complex character, but even so, he even now, he's kind of a not amoral, but like non-empathetic jerk.
Yeah, I would say complex, but not likable.
Yes, that's it.
So Sejanus refuses to leave without Marcus in tow, so Coriolanus and him pick up the body and are trying to drag it out before they, so they can get to the gates. But of course, as I said, they're being stalked by tributes, and they're finally rushed by this group of tributes, and Coriolanus spins around just in time to see one of them raise a knife and try and stab him. The blade glances off his body and strikes down his arm, and he falls back, landing in a pile of debris, and comes out with a 2x4 that he finds on the ground. He starts swinging it at the tribute.
Okay, sure.
And he uses it like a club, and he just beats him and beats him and beats him until he's dead on the ground.
Yikes.
Yeah, it takes dark turns starting here, this whole story.
You probably should have mentioned at the top here, if you know anything about Hunger Games, you knew this was coming. Child murder, be warned, we are not making light of child murder, we're making light of the ridiculousness of the setting. Yes,
that's all said in the first one too, so I'm assuming, as you said, most people are not listening to the second without listening to the first.
Yes, but just really gotta cover our bases here.
Yeah. So he makes the getaway, and he and Sejanus make it to the barricade that's covering the exit. They barely make it through as the tributes trail right behind them, and they're let off. And Coriolanus is pretty immediately taken to see Dr. Gaul, who patches up his arm.
How do they not have, like, shock collars on all the tributes so they can disable them if necessary? Like, that's...
Sam, they don't have, like, they didn't even have... They just had an arena with two... They don't have microphones in the arena. Remember we discussed this.
I know, but I'm like, it's all coming back, how dumb... Like, do it right! If you're going to do something terrible, which I don't recommend you do, if you do anything, do it right.
Yeah, okay. If they were doing it right, I wouldn't be talking about this book. Because
that's a good point.
The best part of this book is how stupid the Hunger Games are.
Yeah, you got a point, Danielle. I'm sorry.
I get that the author's like, I need to make these as far removed from the, like, future Hunger Games as possible, but it's like she thought of every single terrible thing that could possibly, like, I'm not going to feed them. Like, how does that make sense?
Well, as you mentioned, all that could be solved if this was like year 2 of the Hunger Games or something.
Yeah, like if it was just out like the onset and they're like, oh, wait, this is way more complicated than we anticipated it being when we came up with the idea, then sure. But now it's 10 years. It's 10 years later.
10 years!
Oh, goodness.
Okay,
so Dr. Gaul asks him what he thought of the arena, and he says it was terrifying. And she asks him what his thoughts are on the tributes now that they've tried to kill him, even though it was of no benefit to them. And he remarks
to be fair, it's of no cost to them either. They're all going to die anyways, as we established in the first episode.
Yeah, but it's amazing to me because, as we also discussed in the first episode, Lucy mentions to them when they try to kill him the first time, like, hey, but you still have families and stuff, like, back home that they could screw over. So, like, you think they maybe would not try to kill the people who come in from the capital.
Maybe, but again, teenage brain, do they really care that much? Who knows?
No, and you're in that space of, like, kill or be killed.
Right, yeah.
He remarks that he had not realized how much they actually hated them. And she asks him what he thought when he realized that. And he admits that in that moment, he wanted them all to die. Like, he was totally fine with them all dying while they were trying to kill him.
He would be.
Yeah. And Gaul tells him he accomplished the mission on at least one of the kids. And they'd have to make something up for the morning report, because obviously they're not going to show what actually happened.
No, of course not.
So Coriolanus reflects on the death, wondering if he murdered the boy, but decides it was actually self-defense. So it wasn't like murder.
I mean, yes, it was self-defense in that he was trying to kill you, but also he was only in the space of kill or be killed because of what you guys were doing to him. So,
which they have... This is one of the things that he is, like, arguing during this scene. She tells him that she's glad he got that experience, that it was, like, transformative for him. And she said she had wanted Sejanus back, but she had also wanted him to get a taste of the arena as well. She calls it humanity undressed. Yeah. How quickly civilization disappears and mankind in its natural state. She's all about, like, violence is the natural state of
She's
man.
A very Hobbesian philosophy. Yes. Got it.
And he's not sure he agrees with that. He's like, I wouldn't have beaten anybody to death if you would not put me in the arena. Like, that's not something I would normally have done. And she's like, you make your own choices. You didn't have to do that. You chose to do that. I guess you could have hit him and run, but you didn't. You killed him. And she prompts him to think about it that night because she says who we are as people determines the type of governing we need. So he needs to think hard on it.
Oh, boy. One of those.
Yeah. So he's enraged, as you pointed out, that she forced him to kill. That he feels like he didn't actually have a choice in the matter. And it should have been his decision if he got to take a life or not. He doesn't feel like it was his decision.
All right.
So he heads home. And the next morning at school, he shrugs off his injuries as a bike accident. But he's pretty freaked out by the shot of on the TV of the boy. Because they show him dead in the morning. And he looks a lot worse in the daylight than he did at night.
Yeah, well, he got his face beat with a 2x4. I bet it's not pretty.
Yep. And Lucky Flickerman lets everyone know that they're now down to 12 tributes.
Oh, right. And Lucky's back.
Yay, Lucky. They impromptu magician on screen. And it's also announced that Sejanus' father is sponsoring a full ride scholarship to the university for the winner of the games, obviously behind the scenes to make up for the fact that his son went into the arena and almost destroyed the Hunger Games. So
in addition to the mentor prize, the winning mentor also gets a full ride scholarship?
Yes, I think both, but I could be wrong. But in any case, it's a bigger prize. Is now and this obviously rallies Coriolanus. He's like, I have to win this. This is the only, the prize would have been nice, at least would have helped a little bit, but this will actually help more.
Yeah.
Another tribute ends up dying during this day. They can't recall her name, so that's how well they're keeping on top of their Hunger
Who's running these Hunger Games? The first season of Big Brother was better run than this.
And even the person that was the student, envoy for the tribute was I don't know, it was Sal or his son or something. Even they couldn't remember.
That, why the Hunger Games lasted 10 years if nobody cares?
Real mystery. Suddenly, Lucy Gray runs from one of the tunnels with the boy from 12, so her partner from 12, hot on her tail. They had been besties during this game. They were supposed to look out for each other. And he's staggering out after her, and then he begins foaming at the mouth.
And
they
realize poisoned.
No, they realize that he has rabies.
What?
Which has spread a few times in the city, and he had been bitten back at the zoo, and they weren't sure what bit him, but they hadn't thought twice about it. And they assumed maybe it was a rat or something, but now they wonder if it's not one of the raccoons that occasionally ends up spreading rabies, because apparently rats don't spread rabies.
I was going to make a rabies joke, but I thought it'd be too dumb. But wow, okay, rabies.
So his name's Jessup. He's zigzagging across the field. He's following Lucy, and Lucy's running for her life. And she runs across, she scrambles up one of the broken walls, and the camera zooms in on her. And he notes that she has really cracked lips. And he's well, of course, because she's been underground this whole time and she hasn't come up for water or anything. So he decides that he's going to send her some water from one of the gifts that he's
Didn't they try that earlier and it didn't work so well?
It's been hit or miss, but they've managed to get some to some.
Sure.
So the drone flies in with a bottle of water and Lucy tracks it, waiting to catch it. But as it passes over Jessup's head, he panics and starts swinging at it with a board from the ground. And it cracks and falls to the ground. And Jessup becomes more agitated, trying to get away from it and closer to Lucy.
Yeah, that's right. Don't rabbit animals hate water?
Yeah, they have hydrophobia.
How accurate these books are.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have hydrophobia because it hurts to swallow. Not specifically because they're afraid of water, but in their panic state when they see water.
I mean, it's rabies. Their brain ain't doing so hot.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, has he had any water? How does he know?
The parasite node, or virus or whatever.
Okay. Well, he remembers. Coriolanus is oh yeah, hydrophobia, afraid of water, and he begins ordering water after water to be delivered while Lucy is backed into a corner.
How many credits does he have?
He has some, but he's given some by one of the people who had just, died. I think the one that had died earlier or something like that. And they're we're not, I'm not going to use him, and I want your contestant to win. So they transfer credits over. I guess you're allowed to do that. Yeah. So as the bottles start to arrive, Lucy draws Jessup's attention to them, and he starts to panic, and he's swinging wildly at them as he tries to avoid them until his foot catches on an old stadium seat, and he plummets to the ground below. Lucy climbs down after him. He's still alive, and she sits with him until he passes away.
Yay!
Well, one less. Lucy's almost going to win, maybe.
Yeah, yay! It's hard to cheer for anyone in this book.
So after he dies, she has a little rights thing for him, and she gathers herself up and gets all her supplies that, the waters and foods and stuff that he sent her, and disappears back into the tunnels. Also, this is the time that I want to share the remaining students and tributes names with you, Sam.
Oh boy, I won't remember them, but I'm happy to hear them.
Okay, you have Urban and Tesley.
Wait, that's one person's name? Urban and Tesley?
It's two people's name. One of them is named Urban, one of them is named Tesley.
Are that tribute and mentor pair or just...
Yes, it's a tribute mentor pair.
Got it. Urban and Tesley. Urban's a little on the nose.
And one is called Yo.
Io?
And Cirque is the other one.
Great, sure.
Festus and Coral.
These are like Star Wars names.
I love these names so much. Persephone and Mizzen.
Mizzen?
Mizzen.
Yeah, like a mizzen mast. I got it.
Pup. Lamina. Yeah, P-U-P. Pup.
Sure. Got it. Look. Are these nicknames? Or are these... Like...
They seem to be named Treach.
Oh, boy. So wait. We have Pup and Mina, right? Mina's...
Lamina.
Okay, I thought it was like, here's the normal name. Nope, Lamina. I was wrong. I'm sorry if there's Lamina out there. My apologies. But Treach?
Uh-huh.
Love it.
I've known Amina. And Vipsania.
Yep. Cool. From the Transylvania Vipsanias.
Sure. Pliny.
Pliny?
Pliny?
Like Pliny the Elder.
P-L-I-N-Y?
Yeah, Pliny the Elder. Yeah, sure.
Wovey.
Isn't that the weight loss drug?
No, I think that's Wegovy.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
Hilarious.
Wait, the name's hilarious, or why is that was hilarious?
The name is hilarious.
Nope. Okay, great.
With
sure.
a U.S., not an O-U-S.
Oh, because they're British or something, sure.
Sure. Tanner, for reasons.
Because he tans things, we got it.
Domitia? Domitia? D-O-M-I-T-I-A?
Domitia, sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that a skin condition? Do you have Domitia?
I don't, but I'm sure someone does. Clemencia and...
I've heard that name before.
And Lucy, somehow.
Clemencia and Lucy, somehow, sure.
All right, so I just wanted to share this with you because they're delightful.
I love that. That was great.
Just for you, Sam.
Suzanne Collins, top notch. You really channeled your inner George Lucas on those ones.
So good.
I love it. I really love silly names.
Coriolanus heads home. He hears from Tigris that when he gets home, he hears that Tigris, that the tax bill has arrived for the house. You might remember that they have decided to tax the rich for reasons.
Because weakening your base of support is always a good idea.
Absolutely. Best idea they've ever had. And then a couple more tributes die. I'm skipping through because this is a long book and I have a lot of notes.
A long book where most of it is child murder, which we don't need to dwell on.
We'll get there. Then a couple more tributes die. That evening, Coriolanus goes back to have his wounded arm check from Dr. Gaul as per her request, and she lets him know that one of the students that was wounded in the bombing has finally died. They're going to announce it during the games. And Coriolanus wonders if that's the best move, because won't it make it appear that the rebels, won something?
Some kind of success, because they managed to prevent one of the tributes from participating?
It's not a tribute. It's one of the students.
Oh, one of theirs? Right, okay, yes, got it. They're all kids to me.
Yeah, and Dr. Gaul is like, don't worry, there will be some repercussions, so it's going to go well. Look forward to it. Hey.
Yeah, that's not hubris. Why doesn't Dr. Gaul have a dehumidifier?
I don't know. She could certainly use one.
Clearly.
She tells him that his girl gave her an idea, and he's like, what are you talking about?
We're going to put on a talent show. We're going to call it Tribute's Got Talent.
They sing till they die.
Everyone can vote on who their favorite tribute is, and the winning tribute, instead of being murdered, it's just going to be catapulted back to their home district if they lose.
Now, who wouldn't watch that?
I mean, it's no worse.
So while he's in the lab, the staff begin to move the snakes out of the room, stating that they're moving them to another lab. But Coriolanus begins to wonder if Gaul meant somehow that they're going to use the genetically modified snakes in the game. And he's really worried that they're going to go straight for the tunnels and that Lucy's going to get, dead.
Snakified.
So while the staff isn't paying attention, he has this idea and he blocks himself from the cameras and he pulls out the handkerchief that he'd given Lucy to dab her tears away one time.
Right, because the snakes are like, they only bite something if they don't already know the smell.
Exactly.
Which
and
is...
he drops it into the tank.
Is that how snakes work? I don't know. Maybe genetically modified snakes work that way.
Yeah,
Whatever.
if they're genetically modified. Obviously, that's how they work, Sam. They
Sure,
work
okay.
however you genetically modify them. Why are you asking silly questions?
Danielle, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we had a snake biologist here. Thank you so much, Danielle, the snake biologist. A herpetologist.
I do like a good snake.
My mistake. I love snakes. I don't know anything about them except that they love to give good hugs.
I like snakes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Danielle. Would you like to have a seat now and let someone else share what their summer was like?
Like, I wouldn't want like one in my house, but I am happy to see them out and about, and they are great.
And I had to like pet one or pick one up?
Except that one time I saw snakes where I was wearing flip-flops and it looked like a rattlesnake, and there were a lot on that property, so that was a real possibility, and I've never danced so fast back in my whole life. But I don't think it was actually a rattlesnake. It did not rattle at me. I think it was one of those ones that looks like a rattler.
And this has been Danielle's Snake Chat.
Do, 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 do.
There it is. There's one song for everything.
So while the staff isn't paying attention, he drops his handkerchief into the snakes and hoping that it'll be enough to give them her scent. He leaves the lab and is a bit panicked that he was so impulsive because he knows he's crossed a line and he cannot take it back. But he tries to rationalize it as he walks home, noting that he doesn't know for sure that the snakes are going into the arena because they've never done any kind of, like, animal thing before, so why would they start now?
Foreshadow.
The lab techs were, like, told him that they were going to another lab, so he has, like, no proof that they're going there.
No one lies in these books.
And probably the snakes wouldn't even be that big of an issue unless somebody stepped on one or something. Are they going to, like, attack the humans? That'd be crazy. Obviously,
genetically modified snakes are very docile.
He would also, like, how would anybody even know how he prevented it or that it was him that prevented it? They'd never know. How would they ever know?
Yes, Danielle, I get it. Foreshadowing, okay.
I'm just letting you know his thought process. I think it's important to know his thought process because as we get further into this book, you will see his thought process devolve. And I think it's important to know how it starts.
Good. All right. Fair enough. I don't know that book like you do.
It is foreshadowing, but foreshadowing to what, Sam? You don't know.
Foreshadowing to the future Hunger Games books.
So he knows he's still crossed a line, though, and he decides that if he's going to win, he wants to win for, like, realsies, not for fakesies, and he wants to do it honestly, even if he becomes a beggar.
What? No, don't. Cheat.
So another tribute makes their way out of the tunnels and promptly dies. There's no immediate reason for it, and Coriolanus wonders if maybe Lucy finally put her rat poison to good use that he had suggested she put into her little compact that she had been given from his mom.
Sure. Or was a snake.
And maybe she, like, yes, it could have been a snake, but there's no snakes yet.
We don't know.
And last Dr. Gaul comes onto the screen and announces, so sadly, a student has died, and it's really sad. Gaius Breen is his name.
Great. Perfect.
And she tells the world, I love these names. They're so good.
Hey, I had a professor named Michael Breen who was an awesome guy, so.
Well, maybe this is some future relative.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Breen dies.
Aww.
She tells the world that since the rebel enemies seem intent on their destruction, they've planned something special for their children. And large drones fly in overhead. They're putting a lot of faith into these drones that can't bring water.
Deliver water.
Into
the snakes released prematurely and crash. Oh my gosh, snakes everywhere.
They carry this tank towards the arena, and Coriolanus had kind of convinced himself in the interim, a little time had passed, that maybe he just had an overheated imagination. Nothing was going to happen. But now he realizes, obviously, all his thoughts were correct. He just doesn't know how the snakes will react once they're released as they're modified snakes.
Well, obviously, the calmest way to introduce snakes to an environment is by airdropping them some drones. Yeah, snake rain!
So, like, tributes have come out because it's really loud. There's something going on. So there's a bunch of tributes that are out. They're looking up as the tank is delivered. And as it lands, the walls fall to the ground and thousands of rainbow snakes start pouring from it.
Question.
Yes.
Among many.
And answers.
So the rebels attack the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Dr. Gaul's way to get revenge on the...
Snakes, Sam, snakes!
On the rebels is to murder the tributes that the rebels are also presumably trying to kill, or were they trying to free? I don't know what's going to happen.
No, they're like the rebels come from the district, so they're like murdering the children of the rebels. Essentially, is the concept behind that.
But they're already being murdered anyway in the Hunger Games. It's not like this is like, hey guys, you know those kids we're gonna kill? We're gonna kill them. You're like, you really showed you.
Yeah, but we're gonna kill them in a bigger way, Sam, with snakes.
That doesn't make any. What is this plan, Danielle?
That's like that these children will have less of a chance of surviving.
They have zero chance out of one. One of them is going to survive. So now maybe zero survive? Like, that's not a big difference. I'm sorry.
But there are snakes.
This is a dumb plan, Dr. Gaul. You should have, like, I don't know, dropped them on the districts maybe or something if you want to really upset them.
Yeah, it'd be great. Unfortunately, this is our trial run of snakes. So
Dr. Gaul, I refuse to accept the snakes.
Dr. Gaul and for too bad, Sam.
How'd she get her doctor? Where's she get her PhD from? Or her MD, whatever it is. I don't believe it.
Yeah, well, she tells everybody that they're only snakelets. They're not the fully grown versions.
Snakelets? That's your word, isn't it?
Used. No, that's the word she
That's
uses.
your word? No.
Is the word from the book. I love it. I'm keeping it.
That's the most Danielle word I've ever heard in my life.
Maybe it's real, Sam. I would call snakes snakelets. That's amazing.
100% would.
Says a lot about me. You know what I'm like, everybody. But they're designed to hunt humans, and they reproduce really rapidly. So
we've lost control of them and released them into our city of citizens, like with no way to contain them.
They're in the arena, Sam.
Yeah, but the arena isn't like hermetically sealed. To quote Dr. Ian Malcolm, life finds a way. They 100% have lost control of those snakes. There's no way those will get out into the city, start reproducing and murdering citizens. This is dumb.
If only that was the plot of this book.
That's what happened. You ever like have a snake? Like, things don't just like, oh, we'll just stay in the arena because we know it's an arena.
Maybe they're genetically modified to stay in the arena. Maybe they put up a little electric field around the arena. You don't know, Sam.
No, yeah, they've really been on top of the ball so far, Danielle.
Okay, what we don't find out in this book is like this is what's happening on the outskirts of the town, and it's just not shown to it. And she's going to write another book, and it's going to be all about the citizens that are like overrun by snakes and dying.
Instead of being called off songbirds and snakes, it's to be called snakes!
Anyway, a scream echoes from the tunnels, and Corio is convinced that Coriolanus is convinced. All my notes say Corio, because I was not typing Coriolanus every time.
I love that. That's a snakelet name for Coriolanus.
Yeah, well, one or two people call him Corio in the book, so I'm allowed. And is convinced they got Lucy, but another tribute explodes from the entrance, a snake dangling from her arm. They go for the others as well, taking them down until the audience pauses. Everybody's like, shh, we hear something. And they hear a song coming from below as Lucy Gray emerges from the tunnels, walking carefully backward as she sings gently, a dozen snakes following her.
Is this like that Simpsons episode where they have like snake whacking day and they have to like play music to lure the snakes? Dumb.
Yes. That's exactly what this is.
They did a Simpsons episode that was about making like Pied Pipering snakes, and they're doing the book.
So
amazing.
As called by her music, they flock to her. They start to swarm over her.
No.
She continues to sing, which seems to lull them.
No.
Night falls, Sam. Night has come upon the snakes.
No.
But when morning arises, most of the snakes are dead. And they're not sure if it's from the cold or from this big rainstorm that happened that night. It's unclear, but there's a lot of snakes. Snakes do melt in the water.
That's a well-known fact about snakes. They're like...
They're not water snakes.
They're not
ridiculous.
Waterproof. Snakes are like rabies. They don't get along well with waters.
Yeah, snakes notoriously don't live near bodies of water at all.
Or they can't actually touch water or they explode.
Like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, sure. Or like snails and salt.
Slugs.
I'm sorry, slugs and salt, Danielle.
Probably works on snails, too.
Yeah, it does.
Know. I didn't give salt to the snail gods.
Okay, well, that's going to make no sense to anyone.
Got it.
No, I'm not. You're going to get that in there.
I think the lettuce works, Sam.
Oh, gosh. If you want to know more, email Danielle or hit her up on Blue Sky.
More, hack into our phones and check our texts.
Danielle will be happy to tell you, I'm sure, if you bother her enough.
I would totally tell you. If somebody actually reached out and was like, hey, what are you talking about? I would tell you.
That's what we call a teaser.
Then another tribute dies when the one who was collecting parts earlier. Oh,
What?
that's right. So
you skipped ahead or something because it's morning.
I forget because I'm like, yeah, okay. So, but then another tribute ends up dying because you might remember that last time I told you there was one of the tributes was like collecting the drones that were falling. It was like taking them. So she's like hacked into the drone system and now she's making them like dive bomb specific people.
These military drones are so well made that a child with no tools in a battle to the death arena can hack into them.
Yep.
These guys are so good at making stuff. I can't believe they won the war. I do not believe it. The district should have overthrown them immediately.
Yeah. So she kills somebody with her hack drones, and then somebody jumps on her and kills her, and now they're down to 3.
And the snakes just killed one. So
no, the snakes killed multiple, like 4 of them maybe, because there were 12 starting with this, I think.
Yeah, but I'm going to say, Dr. Gaul, your revenge is I'm going to release 1 billion snakes in the arena. They're going to kill 4 guys and all die. That really shows you our power.
It could have been, I mean, maybe it was 9 of them. There were like...
Either way, if I was the rebels, I'd be like, I'm not so afraid of like snakes that can barely kill anyone, and then like you sing to them and they're fine, and they all die overnight. Like, great weapon, Dr. Gaul.
Well,
really intimidating.
Multiple people died from the snakes, and it was dramatic, and it was rainbow and colorful, and we love that.
I mean, I love that, like Pride Week and everything, but no, it doesn't make sense. Pride murder snakes, let's not go too far.
Lucy finally appears again as she disappeared sometime during the night, and she steps forward. She rinses out a water ball into one of the few puddles that's remaining from the storm, trying to collect some water. But Coriolanus sends her. He's like, "Oh, I'll just send her some food and water." So he sends her some more, and she collects that and walks over to count the dead bodies because they're like lined up in a pile. She's trying to figure out how many people are left in the games.
Sure.
And someone suggests that they have a scoreboard, jokingly.
And
Coriolanus
they don't
is
have like a graphic on the screen?
No, they don't have anything. That's why they can't remember the names of the tributes, Sam.
I assumed the kids couldn't, but I thought they like the people watching the broadcast had like
even
a graphic.
Lucky was trying to figure out what the name of the tribute was that
Wild.
died.
It's wild. Dr. Gaul should be fired. She spent all the money on useless snakes that do barely anything and no effort making the Hunger Games interesting. Like, who's in charge of her? Like, why isn't she why are they all getting fired for, like, gross incompetence?
No, I think Dr. Gaul is in charge of herself. That's the problem.
Yeah. Who's she sleeping with to stay in power? Because, you know what? I bet it's worth it.
Maybe it's High Bottom.
Maybe with a name like that.
So, anyway, Coriolanus overhears them, and is like, "That's a great idea." The tributes would probably find that helpful, and thus scoreboard is born. Obviously,
what if I tuned into the broadcast on day 3 and be like, I guess there's some number left alive.
Well, they talk about it like periodically because the host will be like, "Okay, don't forget there's 13 alive" or whatever. Yeah. But they don't have it like it's not like they did in the future Hunger Games where they did the exploding cannon and they'd show the little pictures of the people who died for the year.
You know, basketball games or baseball, if you tune in, you're like, they have a scoreboard.
It's very basic.
Yeah, it's like, it was so basic. I just assumed it was there the whole time.
Yeah. Anyway, so Lucy Gray, she's trying to collect her stuff and go back underground. But as she's doing that, another tribute rushes her with an axe. And at the last minute, she jumps into his arms, which obviously throws him entirely off his attack. And then he pushes her away in horror, and the viewers see a pink snake attached to his neck.
So she, like, had a snake up her sleeve?
Yeah, 100%.
What?
Her weapon of choice.
I remember she put the snake down her romantic rival's back.
She's got a thing for snakes.
She's got a thing for snakes, yeah. She's a snake girl.
So he pulls it off his neck and he bashes it into the ground, but it's too late. He falls over. He's dead.
Great.
So now she and Reaper are the only tributes left.
I'm just constantly flummoxed by both the insanity of these Hunger Games and how poorly all that insanity is being shared with the rest of the populace as entertainment medium.
I was so looking forward to telling you about these Hunger Games. It was the only thing that convinced me to do this book for you.
It pays off.
You'll see how you feel about the rest of the book. So, tired of waiting because she's like, okay, we're the only two left, let's get this on. Lucy Gray starts taunting Reaper, stealing some of his things and running back and forth across the arena. And at first, Coriolanus can't figure out quite what she's doing, but then he realizes she's trying to like tire him out from running back and forth because she's got supplies, water, etc. He doesn't have any of that.
So she's running back and forth. Is he chasing her?
Yeah, because she keeps stealing some of his things and stuff like that and taking them because she's quicker than he is.
Okay.
He's, way stronger than she is. So he seems to get more and more tired, clearly suffering from the effects of the heat. It's also very hot. I forgot to say that.
Sure.
Until he stopped.
We know that snakes hate the heat. That's why they all died.
Yes, exactly. The water, the heat, the nighttime, the cold. Who knows?
Yeah, reptiles really don't do well in the heat. They never sun themselves and are completely driven, their metabolisms, by the external temperature.
Anyway, so he stops to drink from the remaining puddle that she had tried to get water from earlier.
Rat poisoned.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for ruining that for
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry. It's obvious.
Yeah, when she was cleaning out her water bottle, she actually was putting in rat poison. Which honestly, pretty smart.
Yeah,
Give her credit.
obviously, she should be in charge of the Hunger Games because she's got a head on her shoulders. If the Capitol was smart,
Lucy won.
They would fire Dr. Gaul and put Lucy in charge of the Hunger Games.
Yes, that's actually how you didn't know this, but the plot of this is that after Lucy wins this games, she ends up working for the Capitol and becomes in charge of the Hunger Games.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing, where
exactly.
You've won the Hunger Games, you've now in charge of them, Lucy. That's my Wonka, thank you.
You could drown children in a chocolate river.
To be fair, isn't Willy Wonka basically a Hunger Games where the last survivor wins?
It is, actually, and I think that Candyland version of Hunger Games would be solid.
Also, it takes me to the Candy Factory, Hunger Games, it's right there. What did we think of this? Come with me and you'll be in a world of child mutilation.
God. All right, this is an R-rated podcast.
We're doing the Hunger Games. What do you expect?
Coriolanus attends the victory dinner. He is super stoked. Yay, Lucy Gray won.
He's got the money. Lucy Gray won, and then they're going to send her back to District 12, and the book's over, right?
Yes. What do you think's going to happen, Sam? Where do you think this is going? We're halfway through this book.
I mean, honestly, I have no idea.
Right? It's a real mystery. What's going to happen?
I mean, kudos to the author. I do not know what's coming next because I believe literally anything could happen at this point.
Yeah, I feel like this book was a wild ride. I was like, what's happening? Where is it going? Why is it the Hunger Games are over? What happens after the Hunger Games?
Seriously, props to the author. Cannot falter for her suspense.
Yeah, so he is, as said, absolutely thrilled at his win, and he's called out to assumedly meet Lucy for a television spot. And instead, he is ushered to Dean Highbottom's attendance at the lab. He is waiting for him at the lab. And as he walks into the room, he looks down at the table in front of Dean Highbottom and sees his mother's silver compact that he'd given Lucy with the rat poison in it.
And the handkerchief.
And a dingy white handkerchief.
Yeah.
Also a napkin that he had wrapped food in at one point to give her, which was technically illegal.
Oh, no.
I know. So Coriolanus says in the book that the meeting lasted no more than 5 minutes, but when he leaves, he heads directly to the recruitment center, and he is now one of Pan Am's newest peacekeepers.
So his punishment is to be made a police officer?
Correct.
Hey, we caught you cheating the Hunger Games, and you've proven yourself to be both smart and capable, so we're not going to use your talents. We're going to send you off to be a grunt.
Yes.
How are these people still in power, Danielle?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Lucy Gray and Coriolanus have demonstrated themselves to be the most competent people in the Capitol, both through his amazing paper and his ideas for the Hunger Games, and the fact that hey, they won the Hunger Games. You cannot fault them for results. So, maybe
and nobody
you could
said
learn
you
from them.
Cheat.
Yeah. Also, I'm guessing they drove up interest in the Hunger Games quite a bit through their antics. So, if you're trying to drum up interest in the games, they're the ones you should listen to.
Nope. He's sent off.
I'm so angry.
Why? Let's find out what happens, Sam.
Promote him. Fire Gaul.
At the recruitment center, he requests District 12, of course, and he reflects on his meeting with Dean Highbottom. So we get a previously.
Oh yeah, he has
a
budding relationship with Lucy.
Yes, he has a budding relationship with her. You didn't really mention that, but that is true.
It barely happened.
Yeah, I skipped over some of it because who cares? But they
Exactly.
They chat a few times. They're kind of flirty, like, but they know it's a Romeo Juliet situation. Quite literally, one of them is going to die. So he reflects back on his meeting with Dean Highbottom. So previously on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, he remembers Highbottom saying, "Do you hear that, Coriolanus? It's the sound of snow falling."
Boo, boo, boo. If
yeah.
you tee up your own clever pun that hard, you don't deserve it. 'Cause it's not that clever. And B, that you had to basically oh, nothing. What am I going to say to him? Hey, that's the way the snow melts. No, that's stupid. No. Okay, wait. Okay. Yeah, I found 2 snowflakes that are not the same. No, that's really stupid. No, wait. They didn't see that snowball coming. God, that's really bad.
It's because Coriolanus always says that the snow falls on top, remember?
No, I did not remember that, but thank you.
So we always said that's like his family motto. Snow always falls on top. So Highbottom's like, oh, it's the sound of snow falling. Hey.
But also,
funny.
That's dumb because the snow falls on top of other snow, which gets buried.
Well, apparently they had wrestled the compact from Lucy Gray as she exited the arena during her search. They cannot prove that Coriolanus knew about the rat poison, obviously. He's like, oh, I just gifted her the thing. That's not technically illegal. And unfortunately, the handkerchief had his father's initials on them. So that's a bummer for him.
Maybe you should have thought of that.
Before he tossed it in there. Yeah, that would have been smart.
No one in this book is pretty smart.
But he gets to 12. He does his basic training. Suffice to say, he gets there. And nobody seems to recognize him. And he finds out that's because they have very little access to TV there. So, who was watching the Hunger Games, man?
What? So, the Hunger Games is ostensibly a punishment for the 12 districts for standing up to the Capitol. Yes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I remember that correctly? Or it's not just me that's just doing it? And so, from the district's perspective, what happens is a child disappears once a year, and if they're lucky, it comes back with a lot of food. Otherwise, that's the last I ever hear about it.
Well, at this time, I'm not even sure it comes back with anything. It's just 2 kids leave the district, never to be seen again. And even if they come back, they're just winners. Because at this point, I don't think any prize exists for the winners.
Well, then what? This is my question. Why try so hard to win the Hunger Games if there's no prize?
I don't think anybody's trying to win the Hunger Games. It's just trying to survive the Hunger Games at this point.
Anyway, my point is, if you're not broadcasting it to the districts so they can watch their children suffer, what kind of punishment is this? This is dumb. Yeah.
Well, that's what Coriolanus points out later, is hey, maybe we should give them access to the TVs so that they can actually see the Hunger Games. Maybe require people to watch it.
This is the Roland Endymion problem where you had to make the Shrike so underpowered to make Rawls seem capable. We've had to make everyone in charge of the Hunger Games so stupid so we can make Snow seem like such a genius when he comes up with the most basic ideas.
Absolutely.
What a choice.
Yeah. So anyway, he's there. He gets a letter from his cousin letting him know that they're putting the house up for sale and likely moving into a friend's spare room.
Did he not get the money?
No, he didn't get anything because he got sent away to peacekeepers.
I mean, he still won the Hunger Games. He deserves a prize.
But no, he doesn't. He doesn't get any prize, Sam.
Dumb. I'd protest.
You're like, I won.
Look, send me away to the peacekeepers. You give him my money.
Yeah, no, because Dean Highbottom doesn't like him, so that wasn't going to happen.
Why doesn't Dean Highbottom like him? Because he's competent? He likes to hire Gaul who isn't?
We haven't figured that out. Maybe we'll find out later in the book. Maybe we won't. Could be another Dan Simmons mystery. Who knows?
I'll get rid of making everything a Simmons mystery if we don't know what's happening.
So he doesn't know how to ask about Lucy Gray because obviously he wants to know, is she there? Did she get sent there? What's happening? But he doesn't know how to ask without being suspect. And as I said, they're putting up the house for sale. He reflects kind of on his family's fall from grace and how he feels like he can't abide it. But there's not much he can do. He's just making a really small amount in the a decent amount in the peacekeepers, but he's not paid yet.
Yeah, sure.
So he falls into this pit of despair. He's deeply contemplating whether he should just off himself and goodbye cruel world. But he's interrupted by a familiar voice. And
it's Lucy. No.
Sejanus. Sejanus is back, baby!
What? Why?
So his father finagled the deal for him. Instead of expulsion from the school, he donated a new gym.
Sure.
I think you could fix the streets. I feel like the town could really use that.
Now, again, why are they giving money to gyms and scholarships? Like you said, they leave rubble in the streets.
Real mystery. Sejanus also got his father to throw in a graduation certificate for Coriolanus, and Sejanus tells him it might matter if he becomes an officer, so he'll need to have graduated from secondary school if that's the case.
Sure.
He tells Sejanus that he was contemplating suicide before he showed up, and Sejanus is like, seriously? You're out of the clutches of everybody terrible back in the capital, and Lucy Gray is within reach. WTF, man. This is the best life you're ever gonna live. This is so good. What are you thinking?
So why is Sejanus there? Did he get sent to the Peacekeepers too as his punishment?
Yes, that's the idea, is that instead they gave him the option to continue being helpful to society by being peacekeepers, but they were not going to go on to university or have illustrious careers there.
This is dumb. This is such a waste of resources. And not to belittle the peacekeepers, because I know literally nothing about them, but if you're investing all this time and energy in training these supposedly new elites to lead, and you've already lost 7 of them through your own incompetence to snakes and explosions and other tributes killing them and stuff like that, maybe don't diminish your pool of competent, smart people by sending them off to be low-level officers in the boondocks.
Well, that's what they did, Sam, and here they are.
I didn't think it was possible for the leaders of the dystopian Pan Am in the Hunger Games to be dumber than they were in the original books, but here we are.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, Sam. I didn't write the book.
I'm completely flabbergasted. It's great work. I mean, top notch.
As you should be. How can he
exceeded my wildest dreams.
How can he pull himself up by his bootstraps and become the Snow that we all love and admire in the future books if he doesn't have this period of time where he's learning what the normal people do, Sam?
I think it'd be more fun if he was just cruise to the top like the Peter principle or whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. So they talk about how the games are continuing even after this really terrible year. And Coriolanus reflects that he thinks that Gaul believes that everyone is inherently violent and that the games are a reminder of what monsters humans are, essentially.
So they're not a punishment for the districts, and therefore they're pointless.
Yeah. So it's a reminder of the war is what he always thought, or punishment for the rebellions. And he thinks that Gaul believes that they need the capital to keep them from chaos, that the world is brutal and people enjoy its brutality.
Yeah, we're all familiar with the Leviathan theory. Thank you, Dr. Gaul. Not original.
They get interrupted by their other bunkmates, and one of them mentions that there's going to be a band next weekend down in the Hob. And Coriolanus obviously becomes immediately interested, band? What kind of band? Who's going to be there? Who's going to be singing in the band?
Her name is Lucy something.
It is Lucy somebody.
Really? Why am I always right?
So Friday morning, Coriolanus hears word about a hanging. There's a man being blamed for some explosions in the mines that happened previously, and he is going to be hung at the hanging tree.
Hanged, thank you.
Hang. Yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I used the word hanging, hunged very many times in this paragraph, and I do not know the difference. So I'm sorry. I, contrary to Sam's belief, was not an English major.
I think you still were.
And I do not know.
I mean, you were an English minor at the very least.
All right. Yeah, but you don't do grammar, Sam, honestly, in an English minor. It does
not matter. English is dumb, and I love it.
So Coriolanus and Sejanus get assigned to attend, and it's kind of like props. They barely know anything. They've been there a couple of weeks or whatever, so they're there with their guns, just monitoring. And they bring forward the man, but as he's about to be hanged, a woman's voice yells his name from the crowd, and this seems to surprise the man, and he looks horrified that the woman is there at all, and yells at her to leave, and he yells, "Run, Lil, run!" And he calls out, but the rope drops and he's hung. Unfortunately, the voice begins to echo through the area. Shut up, Sam. Picked up. So it echoes through the area, and it's picked up by the birds in the trees. And he recalls seeing the same birds back in the lab, and he realizes that they're mutations. They're jabberjays. It's what they're called.
Okay, sure. The proto-mockingjay. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, the mockingjays, I think, are like a mix of regular birds and jabberjays. So one of the peacekeepers shoots into the trees to break up the noise, and the noise stops, and they're sent back to camp.
Why do these birds exist? What's the point of them?
So they were we get more into this, but they were originally sent because they were used as a type of like, they listen to people talk and they can regurgitate it like word for word with their voice. And so they were used as spies originally.
Okay, so much like the snakes, which are now roaming the city free, the Jabberjays have become their own population roaming free in these woods.
Yeah, and they've mated with like the birds. So now
such a good job maintaining control of your mutant creations, Dr. Gaul. If that is your real title.
What if, yeah, okay.
I'm so angry about her.
So they go back to camp. Sejanus is looking particularly upset, and he explains that he just realized that it's not any better being a peacekeeper. It's no different than killing in the Hunger Games if he has to kill people here. And that's what Coriolanus is like. What did you think was going to happen? And he's like, well, I wanted to be
in the forest.
He's like, I wanted to be a medic and like basically help people, you know, like be a medic, but there's no war going on now, so they don't need that many medics. And because he's such a crack shot with a rifle, because his dad's in munitions, his sergeant won't give him a recommendation for being a medic because he wants him to be on the team, a sniper.
Sure.
Following the hanging, Coriolanus recommends to his superiors that they do a clean out of the Jabberjays. Like they just kill them all, essentially. Get them out of the forest.
Yeah, sure. For reasons.
Yeah, for reasons.
Waste all the resources on those Jabberjays.
So the weekend comes and they head to the Hob, which is like the little market area for the show. Coriolanus grabs a seat and waits excitedly, and a young girl steps on stage, and her name is Maud Ivory, and he recalls Lucy Gray mentioning her as her cousin, and she's emceeing the event. So she introduces the band and then finally announces, and now, fresh from her engagement in the Capitol, the one and only Lucy Gray Baird! And the crowd goes wild.
So these geniuses in the Capitol, they run the Hunger Games, somebody wins this, cut them loose, like, all right, go home now, trauma child.
Yes, exactly. They're going to have a psychologist, please.
I'm just saying, like, how are they still in charge? This is the worst run operation I've ever heard of in my life.
It's really, truly terrible. It's amazing that they had to wait 10 years for Coriolanus to become an adult to figure out how to do any of this. And the 18-year-old is the one telling them how to run their games.
Or that, like, they weren't overthrown immediately because they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yep, it's impressive. So Lucy steps on stage. There's way too many song lyrics in this book. It goes, like, listen, I like things about this book. I dislike things about this book. One of the things I dislike is the immense amount of song lyrics. On the nose song lyrics, and I skipped through a lot of this. There's lots of song lyrics, and also a round of "Oh My Darling Clementine," which is one of the few real songs, as far as I know, in this book. That's fun.
And that's a depressing song.
The other one that's she uses a lot is "Keep on the Sunny Side of Life." That song.
That's also depressing in its own way.
After their set, they pause and take donations from the audience. Coriolanus doesn't have any money to his name, of course, but he offers Maud Ivory one of the popcorn balls that Sejanus' mom had sent him in a care package that they had kept.
Sure.
And delighted, she takes it and shows it to Lucy, who asks the audience, like, who donated this? This is very exciting. And Corio steps out of the audience and is like,
surprise, baby, I'm home! Having a big old smoochy smooch.
And Lucy looks at him in disbelief and then absolute joy. She announces to the crowd that it's the best night of her life, and she sings one last song for them before attempting to make her way through the audience to him. But she's being, like, stopped by fans and people who want to talk to her as he waits patiently. But as she approaches, another man steps between him, drunk, and blocks them from each other. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, random coincidences as obstacles for characters. Who would have seen it coming?
Coriolanus realizes it's the man that she told him about, man being, I don't know how old he is. So how old is she? 17? So, like, he's maybe 20 at most. So the young late teen person. It's her ex-lover, Billy Taupe.
Taupe, as in the color.
As in the color.
And his personality, probably. Oh!
Hey, okay. This is also, as you just did, I realized that all of the names are color names. So Billy Taupe is an ex-band member. And then Barb Azure, Tam Amber, Clerk, Carmine, and Lucy Gray. And Maud Ivory, obviously.
I mean, they're all color names, but do they have any meaning? Or are they just like, oh, that's fun?
I mean, you don't really know these characters, so they talk a little bit about the meaning of the names, but it's not like I know these characters well enough to know if their names match them.
Sure, love it.
Anyway, Clerk and Billy get into it, and a fight breaks out, and he loses sight of her. Coriolanus loses sight of Lucy, and the peacekeepers come to break it up, so he heads back to the barracks, unable to see her.
Oh,
I know, so sad. So sad for Coriolanus. Sejanus admits to him that he asked one of the drunk miners during the party about her and found out where she lives, so they decide that they're going to visit her in secret, basically, the next day.
Ooh, clandestine meetings.
Love it. Apparently, it's a pretty long trek across town, and Coriolanus almost gives up several times because it's hot, and that's how much he loves Lucy.
What kind of teenage boy is he?
I was like, what a whiner, man.
Like, oh, this girl's really into me. Who I'm really into, I can see her. Oh, I have to walk? Ah, forget it.
This is where you start to get the inklings of, like, what is his problem? Is he a sociopath?
Again, to be clear, I respect and acknowledge that there are people out there who are asexual or otherwise, but like we know that he isn't based on his, current feelings and thoughts and stuff. So yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, he seems to be into her, so I don't know what his issue is. But Sejanus is like, no, we can do it, let's go. And so
Sejanus is really dedicated to getting Coriolanus laid.
Sejanus is like 100% on board for like anything Coriolanus wants to do. He's like there for him.
The real hero of this book is the ultimate wingman, Sejanus.
So they hear music off in the distance and start to follow it, and they come across Maud Ivory, who knows who he is. She saw one episode of the Hunger Games, one day of the Hunger Games, and so she like knows his deal, and she directs him down to Lucy, who's in the meadow. So he comes across Lucy singing. She's singing the Hanging Tree song, which I don't know if you remember from the first books, but played a relatively prominent part, and it was in the movies
no, I do
a lot.
not, but I'll believe you.
Okay, it's all about like these two lovers that meet at the hanging tree, but it's like a metaphor for death. Anyway, surprise!
Much like you, I skimmed most of the lyrics.
She wrote the Hanging Tree song.
Of course.
It's a prominent part in the movies, and it's like more affecting, I think, in the movies because you don't skip it. Somebody's singing it, But in the books, you're like, okay, whatevs. So she's clearly singing it about the man who was like hung recently, hanged, whatever, earlier in the story.
Sure.
So they excitedly grab onto each other. They make out for a bit and then fill each other in on their time after the games, kind of like what they went through on either end. And she does mention that Dean Highbottom gave her some cash before she left, which obviously surprises Coriolanus because why? Why would he do that?
Why even bother?
Yeah, so Dean Highbottom apparently apologized to her for having to go through the games and gave her a big wad of cash. And
I'm sorry you had to go through the games that we run and design.
That he personally came up with. It's his creation.
What? Oh, these characters are making less sense by the minute.
To be fair, if you might remember, because you didn't mention it in your summary, he is also the one that's addicted to Morphling. So he's like...
I did not, and I forgot Morphling was a thing. Thank you for mentioning it again.
So maybe he's not okay with the fact that he started the Hunger Games. Who knows, Sam?
He's haunted by his demons.
Yeah, his child demons.
Ugh.
So this obviously perplexes Coriolanus because he's like, Highbottom's evil. Why would he give you money?
Yeah.
So they make their way back to the house, and the other covey, which is the name of like the singers, let them know that Billy Tope has arrived to get the rest of his stuff, and they threw it out back, so he's out back behind the house. And Coriolanus goes to look and finds Sejanus with Billy. They're deep in conversation, and they're drawing something in the dirt. And it looks like he's maybe giving Billy's giving Sejanus directions or something.
Okay.
So they head out to give Billy what for and tell him to take a step and leave. But Coriolanus notices that the dirt image that was drawn is a drawing of the base. And Sejanus looks particularly guilty. So he knows something's up.
So maybe he's giving him like tips on how to attack the base or whatever.
Who knows? So they break up the group, and Lucy explains that Billy Tope is seeing the mayor's daughter now. They had sent him over to make some extra cash with piano lessons, and next thing she knew, Lucy was being called into the raping. So, like, obviously he cheated on her with the mayor's daughter, and the mayor's daughter somehow talked her dad into sending Lucy to the games.
Sure.
Later that night, when heading back, Coriolanus immediately is like, dude, Sejanus, what's up with the map you were drawing in your conversation with Billy? Like, what are you up to? And Sejanus admits that Billy was asking him about the woman who had called out to the guy that was going to be hung, well, that was hung. And she's now been captured and imprisoned.
Oh, no.
And they wanted to know if she was okay. They wanted to get a message to her and be like, hey, you doing okay in there? What's happening? Because her family was really worried about her. And Sejanus didn't promise anything, but he was potentially willing to, like, go check on her and get word back to them because he feels bad for her.
Makes sense.
So Coriolanus is not pleased. He's like, "You're a rebel informant." Sejanus is like, "Okay, I don't think it's that big of a deal, man. I'm just gonna go ask her if she's okay. Her family's concerned about her." And Sejanus admits that his dad didn't just fund a gym, but he also funded a new lab at the school. And Gaul didn't want his father conflating the actions of Coriolanus, which she called a faulty piece of strategy, quote unquote.
That one, thank you.
And Sejanus' treasonous act of rebel support. She says they're two very different things. Apparently, Sejanus wasn't going to be offered a position to be a peacekeeper. He was going to be expelled, and that was going to be the end of him. But his dad talked
give
him
her a
into
lab or something.
At the lab and got him a job as a peacekeeper. So learning this gives Coriolanus the idea that maybe Dr. Gaul might be of help to him in the future. Maybe she doesn't actually hate him because she didn't seem that put out.
Just thinks he's an idiot because he won the Hunger Games, which shows that she's a moron.
So he decides that she might be of use in the future, and he originally thought maybe I'll just write a letter of apology or something, but he decides instead he's just going to continue the lessons that she was trying to teach him before when she kept assigning him questions about the games and stuff. So he ends up sending her a rundown of his experience thus far, what it meant to him, what it meant seeing humanity in District 12, et cetera, of all the stuff that she would have been asking, and he sends it off to her the next morning.
So clearly those questions that she sent him about the Hunger Games was because she had no idea what she was doing, just fishing for ideas.
Yeah, she's like, maybe this 17-year-old boy will know.
That's so sad.
He seems smart. I like the idea that Dr. Gaul is asking him what the Hunger Games mean because she's not entirely sure.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I've been running these for 10 years. They're not working. What am I doing wrong? I've tried nothing. I have a lot of ideas, to quote.
What is the point of the Hunger Games?
Okay, so I'll crowdsource the answer. I'll assign all these kids who are supposedly very smart at the end, and let's see what they come up with. This guy says the Hunger Games are about food. Wrong. Also, wait a minute. Why are they called the Hunger Games if they don't give food to the winners?
I don't know why they're called the Hunger Games.
That just clicked to me. I thought the whole point of the Hunger Games was everyone in the districts is starving and the winner gets a bunch of food to not be hungry anymore. It's what they call the Hunger Games.
It does not ever why they were called I never thought that's why they were called the Hunger Games.
Yeah, that's why they're called the Hunger Games, Danielle, because you win food and you get to eat.
No, because for the first 10 years or more, you did not get food. They were
that's
just
my
called
point.
The Hunger Games.
And at least from the first Hunger Games books.
Hunger to survive, Sam? I don't know. The internet would tell us. Why are
you
they
agree
called
that
the
at least
Hunger Games?
in the later Hunger Games books, that's why they're called that, right?
I mean, this may not be true, but supposedly the contrast between the well-fed, both literally and metaphorically, citizens of the capital and the starving populations of the district. So control over food and survival.
Nah, I like my idea better.
Originally, they starved them. Maybe that's why they're called the Hunger Games, because you were going to be hungry.
That's worse. It's so dumb.
Anyway, he also signs up to next morning. He signs up to take the officer test, Sam. So he wants to become an officer.
Sure. Why not?
So Coriolanus' suggestion to murder spree on the Jabberjays is put into effect, but prior to the mass murder, they are supposed to round up 100 or so of the Jabberjays to take back to the lab. And this news sets him on edge because he finds out that Dr. Gaul's lab team will be present, and he's worried that somebody there is going to know him and recognize him, and then word's going to spread, and he's going to be the dude who cheated at the Hunger Games or whatever.
And won them.
Yeah.
In the most interesting way possible. Also, if nobody cares about the Hunger Games, who cares? You cheated the Hunger Games. I didn't even watch those this year. Who cares?
Well, it might put a target on his back. And Sejanus is like, it's just grunt work, so why would anybody, Dr. Gaul's not going to be there. It's, obviously just going to be a bunch of grunts doing this.
Sure.
And so far it appears to be true because the first day goes pretty smoothly. He recognizes one of the doctors, but they don't ever see him. So he's like, okay, clear sailing thus far. So the following morning, he takes the officer test, and then he picks up his mail and he sees a care package and a letter from Sejanus' mom asking him to keep an eye on our boy.
Aww.
And he sighs deeply, thinking that he's going to have to keep an eye on Sejanus forever because he doesn't want to be Sejanus' keeper. He doesn't really fully trust Sejanus because he feels like it's just another, a matter of time before he pulls another stunt and it's going to drag Coriolanus down with him. And because they're friends, he's going to be labeled as a traitor or whatever if Sejanus gets caught with something.
Sure. Good by association, yada yada.
Yeah. And he doesn't think he wants to change because, he's had his chances and he has not done so. And he hasn't wanted to do anything for the peacekeepers either. He doesn't want to take the officer test. He's pretending to shoot worse so that he can maybe become a medic. He's not in it to win it for the Capitol.
Which, he's in it for Sejanus, which makes sense.
Sejanus is in it for Sejanus?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of suspicious of him. He decides that he's going to pick through his belongings and see what he's got. So he sneaks over there. He pulls out Sejanus's belongings and he goes through all of them. And he finds a bottle of Morphling and some medications. And he's like, oh, he knew that he had been on him in the past, but he doesn't know why he brought him with him. But maybe it was just in case something happened. And he also finds a big wad of cash hidden behind a frame. And they've all, the whole barracks has basically been dirt poor. And Sejanus has been going along with that the entire time. So this rocks Coriolanus' world. He's like, homeboy's been lying to me and I don't like it. And now I don't trust anything he's saying.
Now, why would this child lie about wads of cash amongst a bunch of, people who don't seem to like it very much would probably kill him for it anyway?
Yeah, but he hasn't even told Coriolanus, and they're supposed to be best friends. So.
Oh, wah, Coriolanus.
I know. So they've been sent back out to work with the Jabberjays, but this time Coriolanus isn't as lucky, and he runs into Dr. K, who saw him from the facility from when the girl turned into a snake. And
Snake girl. Hope she comes back.
He plays off their meeting, telling her how much he's learned in a short amount of time and how it's been so educational in comparison to school. He's ham it up, and be charming.
Yeah.
And he asks her, pretending interest, he asks her how the birds work. And he just knows kind of the basics of how they work, but he doesn't know how they're controlled or anything. And Dr. K pulls a device from her pocket. She explains that right now, the bird's chirping, it's doing its own thing. It's in what she calls neutral. And it doesn't record. It just kind of picks up whatever sound it hears. It echoes it like parrots, they're easily distracted.
Sure.
But then she presses the button on the remote. If the bird is in record mode and there's an inaudible sound to humans from the remote that triggers it. And the bird, after a brief pause, starts repeating the conversation that they just had in their voices. And she tells them they're attracted to human voices. She explains it's, quote, an organic mobile recording device, and unlike a mic, it's undetectable. The rebels could catch one, kill it, eat it, and all they would find is an ordinary bird.
Except everyone knows there exist, right?
Well, this was back in the day.
I'm still not convinced that's better than a regular recording device, but I'm not Dr. Gaul, who's clearly on top of her game.
How does it record all that stuff without, and still be a normal bird, Sam?
How do people remember things, Danielle? I don't know. Maybe it has an organ that's a tape deck inside it that records
sure.
into.
It's like the spleen records, sure.
Yeah, the liver has a magnetic filings inside of it. All the iron in the liver.
Love it. Okay, I knew you'd have a good reason for me.
Yeah, I got there in the end.
So he goes about his day. Lucy and him agree to meet up with everyone the next day. They're going to go to the lake. He has it off. They're going to go to the lake and swim. And they head out early, making their way to the outskirts of 12 at an abandoned house on the lake. And after they swim, have a good fun day, they start a fire and chat. And she asks him if he thinks the Hunger Games are right. And he admits that he doesn't know why they do them, but he thinks that people are forgetting the war too fast. Both sides of them are forgetting the war too fast.
Yeah, is that what they do the Hunger Games for?
But he thinks it's important that the Capitol keeps things under control, because otherwise everyone would go around killing each other. Without law, they'd be animals. And she's like, yeah, I don't think that's true. What do you have to give up for your safety? And he's like, I don't have to give up anything. And she's like, are you kidding me? My whole way of life stopped when the Capitol took over. My parents both died. I can't sing, I can't travel. All the stuff that Covey do, we're not allowed to do. And she thinks the price is too high to pay and freedom's worth the risk. And she thinks that deep down he's similar, that he wants to push back or he wouldn't have done everything that he did in the games, ignoring the rules.
Sure.
And he's like, but if the Capitol wasn't in charge, I think we'd have destroyed ourselves by now. And she's like, yeah, people were around before the Capitol and people will be around after the Capitol.
This guy's an idiot.
And then it explains all their color names, and I forgot that. So when I realized they're all color names, I was like, oh, hey, they're all color names.
So now
and then apparently there's a whole chunk in the book that talks about it. I was like, how did I not remember that from the first time I read this?
So when I asked you if their color names had any meaning, you said you don't know. You were lying or forgot.
Yeah, well, I said they explain that a little bit, but I don't know any characters, so it really doesn't matter, is what I said.
Okay. Touche.
But anyway, there was apparently a whole thing in there where they discussed the color names, and then I was shocked there were color names the second time I read it.
I guess it didn't really matter that much then.
It doesn't. These characters mean nothing.
The pacing in this book is...
real weird, Sam.
Yes. Goes from high-octane Hunger Games to, super boring. I'm sorry, but like...
And it's like, part of it's because I get the concept, because part of it's like they're in 12, life's slow, we're going to lakes, we're doing stuff. Like, it's supposed to feel like you're in the middle of nowhere doing your thing. It's supposed to be boring in some ways, but it's like a 500-page book. It goes on forever.
There's a difference between writing about something that's boring and boring writing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And there's a big difference.
It does pick up here, but there's like this middle part where you're like, edit, man, edit. Like,
it was the same editor from the Endymion books.
Yeah, it's real. It's a thing. I really struggled with this book. I liked some parts, as I said, disliked other parts. The pacing is a big issue in this book, for sure.
I can tell. I'm already like, let's get to what actually happens. Like, yes, yeah. I'm glad they're talking philosophy, but also like, this is, again, so basic philosophy that I appreciate that these books are written for young adults, so maybe I'm being too hard on them. But also, this doesn't seem like particularly sophisticated conversations about philosophy.
And interestingly, like, the Hunger Games are really tight books.
Yeah.
They are well-paced, well-written books. I don't think most people are going to argue that. But this book is like, she just let herself do her thing. And I was like, no, bring it back. The other books were good. Like, do that. Like, you know how to write it. Do it.
Yeah, I thought they would have a more philosophical or like nuanced look at these societies and the philosophies of the various parties in the books. But like, show, don't tell, man.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And because, I mean, this is for better or worse, this is all from Coriolanus' perspective. And so Lucy feels like a very flat character. And I think it's supposed to in some ways, and we'll get into
he sees her as two-dimensional.
Yeah, you'll see, like, as we go along how this all plays out. Like, it makes sense. I get why she did it that way, but it's also like, I'm not sure I liked Coriolanus, and I didn't care about any of the other characters. So, like, it was kind of it's a weird read.
Like, without, again, one of those things where if you don't like any of the characters, there's no real hook to keep you, like, rooting or interested.
Yeah, and I think the point is, like, you're reading a character you don't like, you know that it ends poorly for him, you're kind of reading it just to see how it ends. Like, to see how he got to the point that he got at. That's what the hook is.
Yeah.
For better or worse. It's an interesting concept. That's why I'm bringing it to you, Sam.
It's certainly, I certainly don't understand a lot of it, but that's me.
Yeah. So.
I'm not a successful author, so, take whatever I say with a grain of salt.
She made lots of money off it. Good job.
Obviously, can't argue with that.
So, as they wrap up this lovely summer day, he realizes that Sejanus is cut out early, and he's suspicious because he disappeared from a show earlier, too. And so, like, where is he going? What is he doing? So, Coriolanus hustles to the hob, finding him at a miner table. It's, like, full of pickaxes and knives. And the conversation as he approaches peters out, and it's obviously, like, they were trying to hide whatever they were talking about. And Sejanus is like, oh, I'm just chatting with her about getting a pocket knife. I was thinking about getting one. When we got our money. And Coriolanus is like, dude, you have lots of money. What are you talking about? Obviously, Coriolanus does not believe him for a minute. And he wonders if he's using his secret stash of cash to help out the rebels in some way. Maybe buy weapons or something, since he's talking to a weapons dealer. The next day, they go back and they're helping with the remainder of the Jabberjays when Sejanus bounds up to him and is like, hey, I got another box from my mom. All the stuff's back at the house. Coriolanus is like helping put the boxes together with the final Jabberjays and all the cages and everything. He's putting all the cages back together for transport. And he's like moving down the line. And Sejanus gets suddenly very serious with him. And he tells Corio that Coriolanus, he calls him Corio. I'm allowed to call him that. He tells Coriolanus that he feels like they're brothers. And so he feels like he also owes him an explanation because they've been, best friends for so long here.
BFFs. They've exchanged necklaces and everything.
They've got broken heart necklaces so they can piece together to become one.
And it says, when you piece them together,
best friends.
It says
obviously
Coriolanus. Because it's Sejanus and Coriolanus put together.
I got it. I got it. So
not a great portmanteau. I guess it could be.
What is with our portmanteaus today just being the words they are?
The good point. Like Coriolanus and Sejanus, you put them together, you get Coriolanus or Sejanus. I guess it doesn't really work.
Like a noisy nose is just noisy.
You're nosy. All right. English, we're failing today, clearly.
So
our brains are still on vacation mode.
Coriolanus starts to panic. He's like, I don't know if I want to hear this, man, because why Like, I don't want to be a part of your crazy nonsense. Because if Sejanus tells him about the rebel plans, like if he actually is helping them out and he's telling him this about helping buy weapons
got obligation
or whatever,
to report it or whatever.
He's going to be a sympathizer of for the rebel cause. And so unsure what to do, he impulsively pushes the record button on a remote nearby and allows the birds to record.
What a great guy.
This is like the downfall of Coriolanus. It's kind of interesting to listen to.
The fall of snow, Danielle.
The fall of snow. I'm so sorry. Why did I not use that? Obviously.
Clearly the best.
It's fine. Snow always falls on top. So, Sejanus explains that some of the rebels are leaving the district.
So does powdered sugar. Sorry.
Sejanus explains that some of the rebels are leaving the district for good. They're heading north. They're starting a new life. They think that there's other people out there. They're like going to go see if they can find them. And if he helps get Lil out of jail, then they told him that he could go to Sejanus.
And so what's wrong with that? They can all go off and live their lives and be happy.
I understand what Coriolanus feels he saw relegation to the capital or something, but also like, who cares? They're not planning some kind of rebel crazy thing. They're leaving.
They're not going to attack anybody,
man.
Yeah.
Who cares if they leave?
Now, I understand, fascist regimes need to control the population and all that kind of stuff, but he is not like the Fuhrer here. He's not in charge. He's not like, he has no real investment in the capital in the sense of like projecting power, et cetera, et cetera. So why does he care if they leave?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it would make more sense to me if like Sejanus had said, we're going to attack the base or something, obviously that's dramatic, but like anything like that. Cause then you'd be like, okay, maybe I have to tell somebody that. This is
maybe
them just
they're
leaving.
Gonna,
like, who
steal
cares?
Supplies from the base or whatever. Like we're planning to go start a new life, but we need supplies. We're going to steal a bunch of the food stores and that takes us back to the Hunger Games. Nailed it.
Yeah. So anyway, all they're doing is trying to break Lil out of jail, which who cares? And the plan is to drug a few of his mom's treats with the box that just came in and give them to the guards. And then they're like going to sneak her out and leave. So like, whatever. Let them do it.
Fine.
Man.
Just let it happen. Who cares?
It's going to stop. It's not going to do anything to you. So he stops the bird from recording and he's like, dude, Sejanus, like a million things could go wrong. This could go wrong. That could go wrong. And Sejanus is like, no, I think it's going to go fine. And I'm a good shot. So like, I think I can survive out there. So Coriolanus is like, they must have guns. That's not good. And
but also,
food.
Why does he have a remote? Do we miss why he's carrying a remote just randomly for the birds?
They're with the birds that are and he's been like Dr. K or whatever, like gave him one so he could like play with it and stuff. So it's just like, he's been packaging all the birds together and like getting them ready for the thing. So Sejanus finally leaves. He's unable to be dissuaded and Coriolanus can't decide if he should erase the recording, but he ultimately decides that he's going to send it to Dr. Gaul, who would realize the implications and that the recording was intentional and he would be the best course of action because Dr. Gaul would... It's just like, he thinks it's likely Sejanus is just going to be discharged. He'll go back. There won't be any further damage.
Very
Who cares?
Smart.
I don't know why he cares this much if Sejanus leaves.
Also, he knows the Capitol does the Hunger Games. He watched Gaul murder a student, turn into a snake because she lied about how much she contributed on a term paper. And she's like, oh yeah, Dr. Gaul is going to be like, this guy wants to run away. She's going to be like, oh, that's fine. A slap on the wrist. Like, no, she's going to murder with snakes.
Yeah, it's wild to me. And you already know that Sejanus is in pretty deep water and his dad had to he just thinks his dad's going to buy him out more. I'm like, I don't know. Feels like it's kind of capped, man. He barely got into the Peacekeepers.
Why do they suddenly make Coriolanus dumb when, he's been pretty smart up to now and is like, oh yeah, Dr. Gaul is a stable person who will do the right thing.
Yeah, I totally trust her. She hasn't been weird this entire time.
You watched her murder one of your friends and turn into a snake girl in front of your eyes. You should realize she's not
But you know what? She's no longer a snake, and who knows if he'll ever see her again.
Is she a snake? We don't know. They just told him that.
No, I didn't tell you this part, but she is back at the games, and she's still a little snaky, but not too bad. And other than a
snake you mean?
She still has a little bit of the scales under her outfit or something, but she's totally fine. Other than some very severe PTSD when the snakes are released in.
But also,
in the arena.
Still being a little snaky is not oh yeah, totally fine. Totally normal thing to happen, guy. She's a little snaky. That's fine. He should know that, like, Gaul is off her frickin' rocker.
Agreed, but that's not what he decides to do. He does decide to drop the remote back in with the birds and sends them on his way.
I do not believe it. It's wrong.
He does feel pretty guilty about it the rest of the day, and he does wonder what Lucy Gray would think of him if she found out, which is,
dumb.
Not good things.
It's not even, like, I don't give the ethics, it's just stupid.
So, that night, they head back to the Hob for another show. Sejanus disappears again while the band and Lucy are on stage, and Coriolanus decides he's going to follow and see what's going on. Again, who cares?
Who cares? Your girlfriend's on stage, pay attention.
So he creeps up, and he watches Sejanus go into the shed out back. And he looks through the door, and he finds Sejanus and Billy Tope and another guy, and they're all crouched over a burlap sack filled with guns. Dun, dun, dun!
Oh, no.
Lucy walks up behind them saying, like, she's like, oh, I saw you come out. She's trying to, like, chat with him. And then she drifts off as she sees the scene. And he pulls her inside the shed as they become aware of, like, everybody knows that they're there now. And Sejanus ends up vouching for them to the small group of rebels that's there.
Big mistake there, Sejanus.
I know. And they're discussing how to get more ammo. And as they're having this conversation, they kind of like are just going along with it. Yeah, like, we won't tell anybody you're going. It's fine. Whatevs. As they're having this conversation, a voice calls out from the shadows, and Mayfair Lip, the mayor's daughter, steps forward.
Mayfair Lip.
L-I-P-P.
Great. Great, man. Love that. I mean, stage one for the rest of this book, the name's top tier.
So she's clearly overheard them, and she seems mighty angry that Billy may be leaving her and is maybe, kind of has feelings still for her.
She's stupid. Don't confront the guy with a sack full of guns.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, but she is stupid, Sam. She is.
Okay, fair enough.
So Mayfair suggests that she's going to go tell her pa, the mayor of town. And as she moves towards the door to flee, one of the men lifts his gun. Billy knocks it out of his hands, but reflexively, Coriolanus reaches for one of the rifles and fires it towards her voice, and they hear a thump on the ground.
So Coriolanus murders her reflexively because she's running away?
Yep. He's like, no, you're going to tell them my whole life will be ruined.
Okay.
Yeah. So Billy Tope rushes forward and stands up, his hands wet with blood as he steps back into the light. And Coriolanus pushes Lucy out the door, and he's like, you need to get back on stage. You have to have an alibi. Like, you cannot be here. Get out of here right now.
Good.
And Billy charges after her, and he's yelling that if he swings, Lucy's going to swing with him. And one of the rebels that's there lifts his gun and shoots Billy, and he falls to the ground.
Clearly, they're both unstable, so that was the right choice.
Coriolanus pushes a very shocked Lucy out the door and is like, go up and saying, like, you get out here now. And the remaining people there agree to keep silent, and the man who shot Billy gathers their things, and he's gonna, like, get rid of the guns and whatever.
Oh, hey, Coriolanus, how's that bird recording feel right about now?
What does it matter? It's a Sejanus, not him.
Yeah, but, like, Sejanus is gonna implicate him pretty easily.
Yeah, oh yeah, if Sejanus gets picked up, he's screwed. That's good for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so you just give them Sejanus, and Sejanus is now tied to you for murder, so, like, you just screwed yourself there, buddy.
Yeah. So Coriolanus leaves. He's obviously worried that the rifle will have his DNA and his prints on it, but he has to assume that, like, the man who took everything is going to get rid of them properly. And they join the crowd back at the show, and nobody seems to really have realized that they've left for any length of time. Lucy's on stage trying to keep everybody, on stage as long as possible. And then they leave at the end of the night, and as they're making their way back down the road, the peacekeeper whistles blow. They found the bodies, and, like, chaos kind of ensues. They join the crowd back running towards the barracks. So the next morning, the mess hall is alive with gossip, but they haven't found the guns or any leads yet. And the week wears on, and Coriolanus starts to get settled back into his normal patterns, assuming maybe that they're not going to find the guns, that nobody's going to know what happens. Right now it's all a big mystery, and nobody's talking about it as much anymore. And he's feeling pretty assured that they'd gotten away with it until he sees an ambulance pull out outside of the clinic with a stretcher on it. And the man who killed Billy Tope is on it, being loaded inside to the clinic.
Oh.
Yeah. And the next day, they arrest Sejanus at the mess hall. But everybody protests his involvement because Sejanus was at the dance and the singing thing. He can't possibly have been involved in that. He was there the whole night because, we were super drunk and nobody remembers. And the sergeant lets loose that it involves something else. It's not related to the murder. And Coriolanus knows that his bird must have been listened to.
Oh, your whole plan worked, Coriolanus. Aren't you the smarty one?
So he's for the next couple days, he's expecting Sejanus' father to arrive any minute. And then he realizes suddenly that his father might not have been notified. They weren't children at school. They're adults, peacekeepers,
Is he just putting this together?
Yeah. Yes.
Why is everyone in this book, made a complete moron whenever it's needed for the plot? I mean, I know why.
That's how books work, Sam.
Yeah, but, I just do better, I guess, is my feeling.
Nope. Just a series of bad decisions. Concerned that, his father's never going to arrive and Sejanus is going to get in actual real trouble, he writes a letter to Sejanus' mom to give her a heads up, but before he can send it, an announcement is made that they will be hanging Sejanus.
Good. I mean, what do you expect they're going to do to a traitor?
I don't know, Sam.
Give him, a medal and then send him on his way?
And, yeah, that. So, Coriolanus is required to attend, and in shock, he watches as his friend is hanged. The end. No Sejanus for us.
My gosh, this is frustrating because Coriolanus is meant to be, smart up until now. He planned out the Hunger Games stuff. I mean, to be fair, he's still a teenager pretty much, but, also to be fair, compared to, Dr. Gaul and Highbottom, he's a freaking genius, so maybe it was just he seemed smart by comparison.
Yeah, now that he's not around them, you realize how stupid he actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that he's around smarter people.
Or, normal people. He's just not around the two dumbest people on the planet.
So, poor Coriolanus makes his way back to his bunk, terrified, as you pointed out, that Sejanus has told him everything before he died.
Because they probably tortured him or used drugs or whatever on him.
Yeah, and he feels a little guilty that he, caused the murder, however,
indirectly. Yeah, 100% your fault, buddy.
But he feels like he really had no choice but to tell them, or he'd be on the hanging tree himself, if he'd gotten caught. I don't know, Sam. He just feels like if Sejanus had gotten caught leaving, it'd be worse than if Sejanus, he had told about Sejanus.
Yeah, they would have, hanged him if he got caught leaving. Now they just hanged him.
And now they know that he knew about it. You think that they'd be like, how come he sent this? How come you didn't just go to your commanding officer and tell them?
Right. That's also weird. But again,
that's a really dramatic way to tell us.
But to be fair, Dr. Gaul is dumb and probably thought this is this is the most efficient way to tell somebody is by bird.
Bird I may or may not listen to.
Exactly. She's like, this makes sense. I punish students with snake and I learn message by bird.
I love Dr. Gaul.
Dr. Gaul, my favorite punching bag in this book right now.
So as he's thinking about this, he starts to sob because he's like, oh, I feel kind of bad about all this. Life is so hard. And Coriolanus thinks back to the arena and he realizes...
He's 17 still, right?
Yeah, whatever. So 18, 17, 19.
Yeah,
Coriolanus
whatever.
thinks back to the arena and he's like, you know what? Actually, I gave Sejanus weeks more of his life or he would have died in the arena. He could have changed his ways. He didn't. He's kind of stupid.
Oh yeah, blame the victim.
His crying spree over, he ends up going through Sejanus' belongings and takes the cash, sending it to his cousin. And
wow.
Then he digs through his own stuff to get and finds this old scarf of his mom's that he's decided he's going to give to Lucy as his final present because he knows that any minute he's going to be picked up and murdered. Because
he really processed the grief of killing his best friend quickly and turned into making his own fault. I killed Sejanus. And then, 10 minutes later, wait a minute, nah, he's a jerk who got himself killed. I actually was the hero for giving him a few more weeks of life. Wow.
Yeah, so, part of the interesting part of the latter half, obviously you're in his head a lot, is you hear him, figuring out, ways to make him never the person that's at fault in something.
This is interesting. I like
it's
this.
Super interesting. That, I think, is the best part of this second half of this book is you get a lot of that internal dialogue of him twisting things that he's done wrong to be that's not really my fault though. Rationalizing everything.
That's really a masterclass in rationalization. That's really cool.
Yeah, and this scene in particular is interesting because he's sobbing because he's oh my god, I killed my friend. But you can as it goes through these emotions, he starts to become less and less emotional about that, and then he's taking them. He's well, Sejanus can't use the money anyway, so he takes the money, but he's still upset about it. She writes it pretty well in this scene of he's still sad, but he's you can feel him rationalizing into not being sad anymore.
That's cool. I mean, that sounds pretty good.
She does that part pretty well, I think.
Excellent.
So he goes about his week. He's basically living in expectation that any minute he's going to be picked up because surely Sejanus told them everything.
If he had told them, they would have picked him up by now, don't you think?
You'd think so, but living his life. And he's afraid. What he's also afraid of is that the gun is going to be found with his prints on it.
Yeah.
And they're going to know that he was like involved in the murder. Like there's a lot going on. Sejanus might have told them, like who knows. So he's finally taken into the commander's office. He's like told that he has to go in there. So he goes in there, but it takes a different turn than he's expecting when the commander lets him know that Dr. Gaul received his message. And he just wanted to let him know that he knows as a commander that it couldn't have been easy choice because his loyalty to the capital came at great personal cost. And he just wanted to basically thank him for his service. And
sure.
Coriolanus is like, oh, good. You haven't found the gun with my DNA. That's good. Like,
he says that. Oh, so you don't want to kill me a traitor? Like, what? Never mind. I'm out.
Oh, you didn't find the gun? What gun? No gun? Nothing? Don't know what you're talking about?
Who said anything about a gun? I said gum. Like, have you found my bubble gum?
So that night is the commander's birthday, which he tells them on the way out, and they've hired Lucy's band to perform. So he decides he takes the scarf. He's like, okay, this is probably the only time I'm going to be able to see Lucy before they really do find out that the gun, they find it.
He's still, all right, boy. He's a real negative Nancy.
So he takes the scarf, assuming it's going to be the only time he sees her. And there are some more song lyrics, blah, blah, blah. And then they meet up towards the end, and she tells him that the mayor has been sitting outside her house in his car, and he's clearly trying to intimidate her because he's absolutely sure that she killed both Billy Tope and his daughter. And he's been trying to convince the peacekeepers to arrest her, and they've interrogated her 3 times, and has said if they don't arrest her, he's going to make her pay, quote unquote. So she admits that she does not think she can stick around anymore. She has to make a run for it because she knows that he's going to kill her if she
because he's crazy.
Right. So she tries to say goodbye, but as they're like talking out, he realizes that she's right. It's like he believes that it's the only way to escape the noose is if he follows her. So he's decided that he's going to run away with her.
What?
That's just what's happening.
I got it, but like, he's like, the mayor has a personal disliking for her and is going to drive her out of town. Somehow this means I will be hanged if I don't flee.
No, he thinks that like she has the right idea. They're going to find the gun. He's going to be blamed for the murders. His whole life's going to be ruined, so he might as well leave with her now. At least he'll be with her.
Banking everything on something, they're going to find the gun they haven't found yet.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, this is the part that's getting me like, they're going to find it. Like, why?
Who knows? Like, they don't know if that guy threw him in the river, like, buried them, burned them, who knows?
Everyone involved in the shooting is dead, except for you and Lucy. And, like, nobody really seems to care that much except the mayor. So, it's not like the peacekeepers are doing, like, this is a huge investigation. Like, do they even care that much?
They're actively searching because they're still trying to figure out. Like, there's talk that maybe that guy. They did think that there were 2 murderers, and there's talk that like the one guy is obviously one of the murderers, but maybe there's another murderer on the loose. They are still actively investigating it. But like, I don't know how much. They're like, are they looking through all the house for the gun still? Who knows?
Fair. All right. Yeah, sure. Okay, fine. Run away. Be with your girlfriend. Fine.
All right. They agreed to leave at dawn the next morning. That evening, he's called again into the commander's office, and he's convinced that this will be the time that he is brought up on murder charges. But instead, he's shocked to learn that he's been accepted into officer school, and he's to leave in like 2 days for District 2.
All right, so someone for running away with Lucy.
Well, no, he's disappointed because he's like, oh, I can't go to officer school because they will find the gun, and then my whole life will be ruined.
Why are you still looking for the gun? Forget about the freaking gun already!
Nope. This is it, Sam. The gun is going to be found. He's going to end up
they're going to find it!
He's convinced.
What is his damage?
So disappointed that his bright future has been marred by this missing gun, he heads out to meet up with Lucy.
Sure.
So they make their way out of town.
I wish they gave him a better reason to run away.
I found it convincing. Maybe they will find the gun. Maybe he's an 18-year-old boy and he has no idea what he's talking about.
That's obvious.
So they meet up, they make their way out of town, and they're discussing their plans, what they'll miss, what they won't miss. And Coriolanus says
I'll miss the hangings.
Coriolanus is like, I won't miss people. They're mostly awful. And Lucy disagrees. She's like, I don't know, people aren't that bad, but the world is. The world makes them awful. Like,
well, maybe the people you know, Coriolanus, are pretty awful. Like, Dr. Gaul sucks.
Like, everybody here is pretty chill.
Maybe it's just the people you know. Maybe there's a reason for that. You ever think about that? Genius.
She's like described like the kids in the arena, you know, like they're like awful in the arena. They're not awful outside of the arena. And he says, well, I killed Mayfair without an arena. And she reminds him it was to save her. So she thinks that there's a natural goodness in people. And it's like life's challenge to stay on the right side of the line so you don't cross over to evil. And he says there are tough decisions you've got to make. And she's like, yeah, I know. I'm a victor after all. It'd be nice in my new life not to have to kill anybody. And he agrees. And he notes that 3 people is enough for him too, and asks her if she wants a walking stick. And so they walk on, and she pauses, and she's like, 3 people? Like, who's the third person?
You dummy.
You killed the tribute, and you killed Mayfair, but like, who was the third one? And obviously he's mind spinning. He's trying to come up with an answer. And he's like, myself. Like, I killed my old version of me so that I could come with you on this trip, you know, to look at it as a new version.
Nice save there.
Like, solid answer.
Yeah, he seems like the kind for like deep self-referential metaphors.
They hike out to the lake from before where they'd like swam and everything.
This book's still going?
It's at the tail end if it makes you feel better. It's like 560 pages or something.
Why?
I'm like, it's so long. But this is the tail end. So they hike out to the lake from before, and they set up a fishing pole. They're going to kind of like do their last batch attempt, you know, to like get everything together before they carry on to the north. So they're going to catch some fish, all that. So they catch their fish. They go into the abandoned house because it starts to rain, and she's like getting like a fire together so she can cook the fish. And he realizes as he shuts the door behind them into the house that the burlap sack with the guns was propped behind it. And Lucy comes over to take a look. And he's like, should we take the guns with us? And she says she doesn't want to, that she doesn't trust them.
You know what you could do? You could burn the guns or whatever, like just so you'd stop worrying about where the freaking guns are.
Yeah, give it time, Sam. So she picks up a long knife that's like in the bag as well with the other weapons. And she's like, I am going to take this though. This will probably be helpful. I am going to go dig up some Katniss. Hey, throw back.
Womp womp.
And to put in the fire, they're like potatoes, creature things. Creatures is not the right word. Potatoes things.
Potato creatures, yes. Potatoes are creatures. They run around with little potato legs, making potato friends and have potato families. Then we eat them because we're terrible people.
I don't know what Katniss do. She's going to put them in the fire with the fish and, like, cook them for the trip. So she heads out to go get some. And when she leaves, he looks intently at the weapons, picking up the one that killed Mayfair. And he's like, obviously, what you just said, Sam. He's like, if I destroy these, I will be free. I don't have to go on this trip because it's kind of lame and I hate the woods and I don't want to be out here.
Dude! A, this is a good chance to start over. B, she's looking a pretty cool girl. You could hang out with her some more.
Yeah, no, he's just like...
Although, to be fair, making decisions about your romantic future at 18 is not a great idea.
Yeah. So he's just like, okay, how can I get rid of this sucker? And he's like thinking, he's like, it's the only thing left that could prove his guilt. And he's like, well, not the only thing, you know, Lucy is also, but she's cool. Like, she's not going to say anything. I know I can trust her.
Or you can make sure she stays quiet.
Yeah. He's like, you can hear him thinking it, like it's in the whole last part of this book is his thought process. So she's like, I wouldn't be thrilled if I was going back, but she's not going to tell, and obviously would implicate herself if she did tell. And she loves me, so she's not going to like do that. But leaving would probably break some of that trust because, like, you know, she's expecting us to run away together. And I love her too, but I don't love the woods, and I don't really want to live in the woods, and I really do want to go back to officer training.
Yeah.
And the stupid mockingjays making noise in the trees.
He's so whiny.
He is. And then he's like, but Lucy was a victor. And he's like thinking back to her time in the arena. And he checks the gun for bullets and he heads out the door, heading towards the bank of the water. And he's like figuring she's got to be out there somewhere. And he calls out for her, but doesn't get a response. And he realizes suddenly that she must have figured it out when she saw the guns, that he'd go back, that she was the last witness to his crime. She must have figured out Sejanus too. But he feels like, oh, but she still shouldn't have run. Like, we could have talked it out. Like, I won't hurt her. And he looks down at his gun.
Why'd you bring the gun?
Well, he looks down at it. He's like, oh, that was probably a dumb idea because she's going to think I'm going to try to hurt her. Like, it seems aggressive to come with a loaded gun. And he's not going to kill her. He just wants to talk to her. So he's trying to like
throw the gun away.
He's trying to will himself to put the gun down, but his hands seem to refuse to cooperate. And all he can do is like, he thinks about her knife that she took with him, that she's a tribute, like that she won. And then he just puts the gun on his back, like slings it on his back. That's the best he can do. So He is roaming the forest in the rain. He's calling out to her, worried that he can't find her. And he wonders if her plan was to sneak back into 12 that night. And what if she got caught? What if she got interrogated? And even if they didn't believe her, it'd still be like, word would spread. You know, his reputation would be ruined.
Of course.
And she hadn't killed anyone back at the 12 he had. And their romance would be revealed and his part in the Hunger Games, and it'd just be like a hot mess. Now he feels like he has no choice. So, as he's roaming,
he finds
a patch of orange that, like, catches his eye, and he smiles. And he's like, oh, that's the scarf that I gave her. I must be on the right track. So he approaches it, and he reaches out to retrieve it when a rustle makes him pause. And he turns to look, and a snake appears, striking at his arm.
Boy, those snakes really are the best timing.
Well trained. He screams in pain and the snake slithers off before he can get a good look at it. But he realizes he doesn't really know anything about snakes or snake bites. Like, what if it's poisonous? What do I do for a snake bite? Like I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. She'd obviously directed him to the snake to be bit. Like, that was trap.
Clearly she's this whole snake trap. What's he thinking? Does she think she can be like, hey, snake, hide in this bush. I'm going to scarf here. When this boy walks by, just bite him in the arm. He won't see it coming. It'll be very funny.
So he's trying to think, but he's like panicking. And he's like, surely she would circle back to the house to get a gun. Like, that would be the most obvious thing to do. Because a knife's not going to get her through this. So he turns back around and he starts heading back to the house, listening as hard as he can. And he hears something to his right. And he stops. And he pulls out his gun and releases a spray of bullets. And the noise stops. And he heads in that direction, but he doesn't see anything. So he starts calling out her name.
What are you doing?
He's like, hey, we can work this out. Like, let's just talk about it.
You need to show how clearly he can do that. He is an idiot. He went from, like, genius to moron real quick.
He might be poisoned by a snake, Sam. You don't know. So, like, he's obviously
snake trap.
She's not. Yes. Maybe she put lots of snakes there and just hope for the best.
Okay, I got like 15 snakes. Throw them in a ball. One of them's got to stick around for like 20, 30, 40 minutes.
It could be like seconds. Maybe she's sneaky. So he's walking around. He's trying to find her, call it out to her. To his surprise, a voice starts singing sweetly into the air, singing the Hanging Tree song. And he steps towards the voice, but as he does so, one by one, the mocking jays in the trees start to pick up the melody and start singing and repeating it. The forest now alive with her voice. It's coming from everywhere.
Okay, because she's a smart one.
She is. She should run the Hunger Games.
I said that when the very beginning.
I know. I'm with you on it. So black spots start to fade into his vision, and he sprays the area with bullets, spinning in a circle until he's completely out of them. And he realizes he has to leave. His arm is starting to swell. He's pretty sure that he's, like, poisoned. He runs back to the house, wipes down all the weapons before dragging the bag to the lake and throwing it in to sink to the bottom. It's nice and heavy.
You've done that before. And not tried to kill your girlfriend.
Yeah, that would have been the smart thing to do, but here we are. His brain feels hazy as he stumbles back through the woods, finally making it back to the district. And he tells the doctor at the clinic that he stopped to tie his shoes and a snake bit him. And the doctor's like, don't worry, it's not venomous, it'll just be sore. And he's like, are you sure? Because I threw up and I couldn't think straight. And, like, I'm pretty sure it was venomous.
Psychosomatic.
He's like, yeah, panic will do that to you, bud. You're fine. Arm's fine. And so the next morning, he gets up and he heads out to District 2 to do his training. So he's on the train. He's napping on his way.
The book isn't over. I thought it was the end of the book.
It's close.
Why won't it end?
And he wakes up when the train pulls up to the station, and the attendant steps up to him and welcomes him to the capital. And he's confused. He's like, I thought I was supposed to go to District 2. And the attendant's like, yeah, well, we've got orders to drop you off at the capital. And he's like, okay. And so he steps off, and the guards wave him off the train, telling him that Dr. Gaul is expecting him back at the lab.
Oh, that kook.
So he heads that way, and she welcomes him back, hailing him as the victor returning. And she tells him she got his letter and the Jabberjay, and she was pleased to see him continuing his studies in District 12, developing his worldview. And she asks him if he understands the point of the Hunger Games yet. And he says they're not
I don't. Please explain it to me.
Let's see if it does helps any now. I don't think it does, but maybe you'll have feelings. He says they're not just to punish the districts, they're part of an eternal war, but one they can hold in their hand instead of letting it get out of control. They're a reminder of what they did to each other, what they could do again. They are creatures that need the capital to survive. But he points out that they're pointless, the games. Nobody watches them in 12. He says they'd have to fix that, but it's a blessing this year. And Gaul says, yeah, but it's a blessing this year because we erased the whole thing. This year does not exist. And she's like, it was a mistake getting the students involved, especially when they started dropping like flies.
Do you think?
So he's super glad to hear it doesn't exist anymore, one, for his own benefit, but also because Lucy Gray will just be forgotten. He's like, she'll just be a memory a few years from now, and nobody will remember it as time goes on. And he tells her that they have to make the viewing mandatory somehow, because otherwise, what's the point?
What's the point of any of it? The Hunger Games are a war you can hold your hands, people don't fight. Like, hey, guys, people are evil and want to fight each other, so what if we make them fight each other so they don't fight each other?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they need us at the Capitol. Yeah.
I don't know, it seems to work out fine for them until it doesn't. They get to 75 games, Sam.
Ridiculous.
So Gaul laughs, saying that it seems like he learned a lot on his vacay, and he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I thought it'd be more educational than lazing around the Capitol all summer. So I got you an honorable discharge, and you'll be studying with me at the university for the rest of your years here.
Oh, that's a downgrade.
So, epilogue.
Oh, there's more.
560 pages or something, Sam.
Okay.
Epilogue. Snow is working under Gaul. They've come up with, it's like this tail end of his university experience. They've come up with the idea that the districts need to be invested, so the winner gets a house, the district gets food, there's a monetary prize.
And now the name Hunger Games makes sense.
It'll encourage people to watch and want to participate as tributes. And he's been taken in by Sejanus' parents in their mutual grief at the death of, his best friend and their son.
So he's got money again.
Yeah, they help purchase the Snow residence, and they're renovating it for them. And that night, he heads over to Dean Highbottom's office, who is looking the worse for wear with his morphling addiction. And he tells him he's there to recover his mother's compact. He's also returning some of Sejanus' personal effects, i.e. his diploma, now awarded to a traitor, so he figured they'd want that back. Some other knickknacks, and the morphling bottle that had been in Sejanus' things, which he throws into the trash with some other stuff. And Highbottom tells him he's very conscientious now, and Coriolanus pulls out the diploma from the frame, like the paper, and replaces it with a picture of Sejanus with his family. And he's like, I'm going to give this to his parents tonight. And Highbottom eyes him like, oh, did you grow a heart in the districts? And Coriolanus is like, no, but I did in the Hunger Games, and I guess I have you to thank for that, given that you created them. And the dean tells him that half the credit goes to Coriolanus' father, which confuses Coriolanus. He's like, what? You're the one who created them. And
apparently, surprise, your dad did too.
He's like, I thought that was like the story I always heard was that you came up with it for a class. And Highbottom's like, that's kind of true. Like, what happened is I was in Dr. Gaul's class, which I was failing because I hate her. And I'd paired up with my best friend, Crassus is his name, Crassus Snow.
Sure.
For the final project. And the assignment was to create a punishment for one's enemies so extreme that they would never be allowed to forget how they had wronged you.
That failed.
And they got drunk, and laughingly, he came up with, like, the most ridiculous idea he could think of, which was a bunch of children fighting each other, and, like, wrote it down. And the next morning, he woke up hungover, horrified by the memory of, like, that idea at all. And Crassus had taken the paper and turned it in without knowledge or permission, because he knew it would get a good grade. And Highbottom never forgave him, and he was somehow credited with it. Crassus got no credit for it.
Sure.
And he had hoped over the years it would die out, but somehow Dr. Gaul just dragged him along with it.
Well, I mean, Dr. Gaul did her best to destroy the Hunger Games, to be fair.
And he believes that using children perfectly encapsulates her view of humanity, that even the most innocent turn to killers, so our essential nature is violent. And Highbottom asks him if his girl in 12 was upset about him leaving, but obviously Coriolanus kind of avoids that question, and because he may or may not have killed her.
Sure.
Because he heard that everyone thought that the mayor had killed her, but it was really a mystery what her fate was. Her body was never found. Nobody knows where she went.
Yeah.
And he's decided he's never going to fall in love. He didn't like how it made him feel, and if he got married, he'd pick someone he hated so he couldn't manipulate them. So he leaves Highbottom's office and walks the streets, and he's musing as he's walking. And he muses that it hadn't been hard to find rat poison, but had been hard to get into the morphling bottle that he tossed in the trash at Highbottom's office. But Highbottom didn't seem to suspect anything as he pulled it from the trash and unscrewed the dropper, putting it onto his tongue. But Coriolanus hoped that as the dean drew his final breath, he realized what so many others had when they challenged him. What all of Pan Am would know one day, that snow lands on top. The end.
That
You're
was
welcome.
something. I mean, besides being interminably long.
So long.
And you had to put every minute of that book into our episode, didn't you, Danielle?
I cut out so much stuff you don't even know.
I mean, like I said, it sounded like there were some interesting concepts there among the morass of just, like, complete nonsense.
And freshman psychology.
Well, we get run into that a lot. Again, I get the young adult novel. I'm not expecting it to be Kafka or whatever, but the characters don't really make sense to me in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've read the book, and I appreciate that's all supposed to be from Snow's perspective, so unreliable narrator and all that. But Snow himself seems to, like, pivot pretty quickly from confident or, like, at least be able to execute plan to conniving to complete panic and, I don't know, impulsivity really quickly.
I agree. But who he is in the latter half of the book is completely different than who he is in the first part of the book. To be fair, he is in an unknown situation in the second half of the book. So maybe you just be extra stupid because you don't know how that works.
Yeah, maybe. But it feels like it was more than that. But what do I know? You can answer that question better than I could. I don't know what you know, Sam. I told you everything I know. Well, you know more than I do about his character.
I think his character devolves a bit in the second half. I also think he's like... and if he didn't have a future story, he would be like slowly losing his mind over the second half of the book. But we know that that's not quite really what happens with his future character. But it has that vibe of like he's like losing track of reality or distancing himself further and further from his emotions throughout the second half of the book.
I still think Gaul should be fired. She's incompetent. She's the worst.
Her answer to everything is more
snakes.
She's not in charge of the games at all. Like, she is supposed to be the game maker, but she doesn't make the games.
She doesn't do anything. The games, she wastes her time making snake mutants for no reason.
Yeah, it's really fascinating that she's in charge of this.
I wrote a book about her. How did Gaul go from respected biologist to snake maker? The Snakeinator.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why she doesn't seem to, like, she has a deep interest in the games, but doesn't actually, like, care how they're run. So somebody else should be running the games. She should just be, like, a contract worker that gets to have her say or whatever.
And why she cares about the philosophy of the games anyway? She's not a philosopher.
I don't know.
Interesting. Like the psychology of Snow, not sure how I feel about anything else. Obviously, I have to read the book to have a feeling about that, but given how long it is, I don't see that happening in the near future.
It's a long book. I am going to read the other one she just wrote, though. It's supposed to be better from what I've heard. We'll see. People have really strong feelings about this book. Some people really like this book. I would not say that I really like this book, but I didn't hate this book either.
That's fair. I think, like I said, there's a lot of interesting things in the book, from what you've told me, obviously. I'm not sure that it would be of interest to me as someone who enjoyed the Hunger Games novels, but didn't think there were all that much depth to them. So maybe they're not for me.
I don't think you would like this book.
Thank you, Danielle, for confirming my biases.
I mean, maybe you'd find it interesting that like this unlikable character is you'd find it interesting as like a reading prompt or something, like where you're like, to read a book about an unlikable character. That you'd probably like that. Yeah, who knows? We may never find out, Danielle. We will never find out. Have the whole book laid out for me by your excellent recap. If you wait long enough and become old enough, you'll probably think that you did read this book because you'll just remember it. You won't know why you remember it. Problem solved. I'll go senile. That's a real positive outlook. You're welcome. Well, if you out there have feelings about this book that you want to share with Danielle, you can contact us at bookretorts.com. You can also blue sky us at bookretorts. And if you want to help fund our own snake projects, we won't tell you what they are. You can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts. We're gonna have little helicopters bring them in too. Yeah, but we won't they won't crash. Yeah. or be easily hacked by children. With sticks and rocks. Oh, because the hacker already. I was like, how come the hacker didn't hack that one? It's because she'd already died. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, thank you, Danielle, for sharing. I enjoyed your delving into the entire series of the Hunger Games. Really answered a lot of questions I did not need answered, but thank you anyway. Questions I didn't even know I had. Right? Most prequels are like that. Well, until next time, if
there's a crazy doctor making snake people. Don't trust her.
Yeah, it's astounding that he just kept going back to her.
Right, amazing.
Like, why? Most untrustworthy person in the entire book.
Crazy. Well, until then, bye.
Take care, everyone.
Do you not see the documentary Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg?
The documentary, yes.
Yeah, the documentary. Clearly, Whoopi Goldberg's a real spirit medium. Did I misinterpret that movie?
We should ask your mom. Didn't she watch it recently?
Yeah, how did you know that?
I know things.
What are you talking to my mom?
I did not hear it from your mother.
Did I mention it to you? I can't remember. I think I must have. Why did I tell you? We talk too much, Danielle.
No, we don't. We haven't talked in a month.
And yet it's still too much. And you know my mother recently watched Ghost. We clearly talked way too much. Yeah, and that was a mistake.